business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide news at this hour, slight uptick in inflation as at the end of December.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness describes a recent call for a tax on imported food by the opposition as dangerous.
You did not ask for an additional tax on imported goods. You didn't ask for that. There is no clarification necessary or can be given. It is a stupid idea. Not just that, it is a dangerous idea.
Chairman of the Jamaica Broilers Group, Robert Levy, says if not for the poultry industry, the government would have to rack up billions of dollars on imports.
PNP caretaker for Central Kingston, former PNP caretaker for Central Kingston rather, Lawrence Rowe, writes to the police commissioner raising concerns about his personal safety.
Opposition leader Mark Golding threatens to withdraw from the Parliamentary Committee on Constitutional Reform if the Prime Minister does not address the matter of Jamaica's final appellate court.
In news from the rest of the world, murders down by almost half in Trinidad and Tobago during state of emergency.
Israel and Hamas reach Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal.
In headline sports cricket, West Indies launches high performance initiative.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, Finance Minister Fayval Williams recently revealed that the government is set to court large-scale foreign investors with legislative changes as part of its growth strategy. Is this viable? We'll hear from PSOJ President Metro Siaga, public commentator and former PSOJ President Howard Mitchell, and the opposition spokesperson on investment, Anthony Hilton.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, how can we change the education system to ensure improved outcomes for boys? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90 FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, opposition leader Mark Golding has threatened to withdraw his caucus from the just convened Constitutional Reform Joint Select Committee of Parliament if the Prime Minister does not address the matter of Jamaica's final appellate court.
The answers that are forthcoming will determine the character of the opposition's cooperation in this exercise. The opposition is pushing for both sides to work together on both initiatives.
You'll hear more of what was said in Parliament on Wednesday.
And at 8, it's Boya Things After Dark with Kareem Boya Things Weathers.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile Nationwide 90 FM, nationwideradiojm.com, and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday, January 15, 2025.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Jamaica's point-to-point inflation rate has risen slightly to 5% as at the end of December. That's according to the latest bulletin released by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin. It's up from 4.2% in the previous month. The slight uptick was mainly influenced by the point-to-point inflation rate for the divisions of food and non-alcoholic beverages, housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels and restaurants and accommodation services. While slightly up, the rate of inflation remains within the Bank of Jamaica's target range of 4 to 6%. The increase also follows the central bank's recent moves to lower its policy rate in order to spur economic activity.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has described a recent call for a tax on imported foods by opposition spokesman on agriculture Dr. Dayton Campbell as stupid and dangerous. He came out strongly against the move while delivering the keynote address at the Caribbean Broilers' grand opening of its new air processing plant. Mr. Holness slammed Dr. Campbell's suggestion while simultaneously lauding the principles of Caribbean Broilers for tackling the cost of living issues in the right way.
Your request was for improvement in the policy environment and improvement in the infrastructure that will reduce the cost of doing business to you as you plan to increase your productivity. And as you increase productivity, you increase output. And as you increase output, you reduce the unit price of each additional good that you produce. And that is how you make consumption affordable. That's how you reduce the cost of living. So you know it, Matthew. And you have asked for the right things, and that is what the government not support you on. You did not ask for an additional tax on imported goods. You didn't ask for that. There is no clarification necessary or can be given. It is a stupid idea. Not just that, it is a dangerous idea. Jamaica has international treaties and obligations that we can't just willy-nilly ignore them.
Dr. Campbell has since withdrawn the proposal. He suggested he misspoke. He's since sought to clarify his position, suggesting the focus of a next PNP administration would be import substitution. However, the Prime Minister says any such tax would have harmed consumers.
So there is a view that if you put taxes on certain imports and then you use that tax to create a fund to help with the efficiency of the industry, that is one way to treat with increasing output or so forth. Now, that could work if the consumers are not Jamaican. But I want you to think of it carefully. Any tax that you put on, it is going to take away welfare from someone and possibly redistribute it to someone else. If you place taxes on imported food, the prices are not going to go down. The prices are likely to rise. Not because the cost of production has risen, but because you have set a new bar artificially. And it means that every consumer pays more. And even if you were to take that surplus in tax and say, all right, I'm going to invest it, then you're faced with this question of who are you going to give this benefit?
Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
Meanwhile, chairman of the Jamaica Broilers Group, Robert Levy, says if not for the poultry industry, the government would have to rack up billions of dollars on imports. He says with the grand opening of the Caribbean Broilers' new air processing plant, Jamaicans can look forward to affordable prices of poultry products.
If this industry was not here, Jamaica would be spending billions of dollars to import all the chicken we require. Billions of US dollars to import all the chicken. If you take the major import into the poultry industry, it is the corn that is imported. That represents 25% of the chicken meat. The other 75% is produced right here.
So we can look forward then to Best Dressed Chicken, making sure that locally the best routes are found to make it affordable.
Yes, without a doubt.
Robert Levy, chairman of the Jamaica Broilers Group, he was speaking with Nationwide's Rodney Campbell at the grand opening on Wednesday. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green says the government remains committed to implementing the necessary measures to ensure that food security remains priority. He was reacting to the grand opening of the Caribbean Broilers' new air processing plant on Wednesday. Minister Green says the investment will go a long way in moderating the cost of chicken and its byproducts.
This investment ties into what are the four fundamental pillars of the Ministry of Agriculture to lead: food security, agribusiness development, climate smart technology, and export expansion. So clearly this will help us to be more food secure. This will go a far way because in helping in relation to moderating prices of chicken and byproducts in general, because it will increase efficiency. And the key is to bring down your unit costs. And the only way to do that is to infuse more technology. So automatically, production will increase. Automatically, things that used to go to waste will now be repurposed and be used as another stream of income. So that will make the entity in general much more efficient, much more cost-effective, and much more profitable. And we also expect that it will lead to moderation of prices as it goes on.
The new processing plant is the largest investment in the agriculture industry. Minister Green notes that the plant will also boost poultry production both locally and regionally.
This air chill processing plant will increase production by more than 30 million kilograms. What that means in real terms is that we can treat with our own food security and then look at treating with food security for the region. We can seriously replace all extra-regional chicken meat exports, and that has to be our vision by 2035.
Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture.
Misguided. That's how the Integrity Commission is describing comments made by Justice Minister Delroy Chuck advising parliamentarians against disclosing the salaries of their spouses or children to the Commission during investigations. The Commission responded to Minister Chuck in a statement to the media on Wednesday. Robian Williams reports.
Speaking during the Integrity Commission's Oversight Committee on Tuesday, Justice Minister Delroy Chuck brought into question the limits of investigations by the Commission. According to the Commission, these comments reveal an ignorance of key provisions of the Act. The Commission outlines that Sections 39 and 40 of the Act state that parliamentarians and public officials must submit statutory declarations detailing their assets, liabilities, and income, including those of their spouses and children. The IC emphasized that these legal obligations are universally recognized anti-corruption and good governance standards that have been written into Jamaican law by Jamaican lawmakers. It says, quote, contrary to what some commentators, including lawmakers, have publicly suggested, they are not requirements that have been imposed by the Integrity Commission, end quote. The third schedule of the Act specifically requires declarants to provide particulars of income from all sources, including perquisites such as housing and entertainment allowances. Additionally, the Commission has made public a letter of invite sent to the Parliament for parliamentarians to participate in a virtual sensitization session to guide them through the statutory declaration process. That letter is dated December 10, 2024. The Commission says it has yet to receive a response from either the Speaker of the House of Representatives or the President of the Senate. The session was intended to help lawmakers prepare for the statutory declaration intake period, which began on January 2, 2025 and runs until March 31, 2025. It would also offer an opportunity for parliamentarians to seek clarification on the examination process and declaration requirements. The Commission is urging parliamentarians to take advantage of its educational resources to ensure accurate and compliant declarations. It says parliamentarians interested in attending the sensitization session are encouraged to contact either the Director of Information and Complaints, Craig Beresford, or its Director of Corruption Prevention, Stakeholder Engagement, and Anti-Corruption Strategy, Ryan Evans. The Commission is calling for responsible discourse to prevent misinformation and emphasized the importance of adherence to legal standards designed to uphold public trust and accountability. Robian Williams for Nationwide News.
Nationwide News understands that former PNP caretaker for Central Kingston, Lawrence Rowe, has written to Police Commissioner Dr. Kevin Blake, raising concerns about his personal safety amid his public spat with the People's National Party. Rowe was booted from representing the constituency on the weekend. It's understood that Rowe's letter was sent to Commissioner Blake today. Rowe told Nationwide News on Tuesday that given his dispute with the PNP over his removal as caretaker, that he would be asking the police to afford him protection.
You have questions about your safety?
Yes.
You don't feel safe?
No, I don't.
Have you asked for help in that regard?
I'll be writing to the Commissioner of Police and the Minister of National Security not long from now.
Why are you concerned?
The multiple calls that I've been receiving about saving the party, don't burn the house down, all sorts of it. Is that everybody is in a state of paranoia. And the only question that I've been asking, I'm very consistent. What are the compelling reasons that I can't run, but I must go out there and mobilize support for somebody else? What are those reasons?
Lawrence Rowe, former PNP caretaker for Central Kingston. Rowe says he has both written and audio evidence to prove that the party leadership offered him an appointment to the Senate and membership to the board of a housing agency, along with $15 million in resources as part of negotiations to transition him out of the seat.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
15 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is...
It's 29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 27 in Montego Bay.
Take your business to the next level. Join Jamaica Stock Exchange at its landmark 20th Regional Investment and Capital Markets Conference from the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, January 21st to 23rd, 2025. 3 exciting days of powerful, inspiring, and innovative presentations. Hear from industry experts and entrepreneurs from the Caribbean, USA, Canada, Latin America, and Africa. Come, connect, and network. Reserve your spot at www.jamstockex.com or call 876-967-3271.
Continuing the news, opposition leader Mark Golding has threatened to withdraw his caucus from the just convened Constitutional Reform Joint Select Committee of Parliament if the Prime Minister does not address the matter of Jamaica's final appellate court. The committee, which was established to review the proposed legislation to remove the British monarch, has, as head of state, held its first sitting today. In a rare move, the opposition leader not only sat in on the committee, but delivered his ultimatum through his opening remarks at the inaugural meeting. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
Mr. Golding accuses the Jamaica Labour Party and Prime Minister Andrew Holness of failing to provide a clear position on the matter of Jamaica's final appellate court. He says this is a position that the Prime Minister owes to the Jamaican people.
Is the government not under a fundamental duty to explain in clear and unambiguous terms why it is determined to proceed in this piecemeal fashion instead of using the historic opportunity of this constitutional reform process to ensure that the majority of the Jamaican people enjoy the benefit of access to justice to their highest court? Would the people, and we ourselves, not regard it as a welcome sign of maturity and wisdom to witness an agreement between the parties on the settled way forward, success on these new constitutional arrangements, regardless of which party wins the upcoming national elections? And is this not a most appropriate juncture for that consensus to be accomplished?
The opposition leader also believes the Prime Minister should explain his failure to twin the removal of the British monarch and the adoption of the Caribbean Court of Justice as a sign of solidarity between the two political parties.
Are the people of Jamaica not entitled to be told why the government has not tabled the CCJ bills again, thereby signaling that both sides, government and opposition, will work together to accomplish the twin objectives of transitioning both from the British monarchy and from the British monarch's court? 2. Bearing in mind that the history of the constitutional reform process over the last 30 years has, undeniably, birthed a certain distrust factor. Would the government not, like the opposition, wish for that to be put behind us before embarking on this leg of the historic legislative process and referendum for Jamaica to become a republic?
Mr. Golding says failure to deliver on these questions will impact the willingness of the opposition to take part in the constitutional reform agenda going forward.
These are matters relating to consensus in the reform of our Constitution and require answers to be provided by the head of government himself. Those answers are long overdue. Madam Chair, the answers that are forthcoming will determine the character of the opposition's cooperation in this exercise. The opposition is pushing for both sides to work together on both initiatives. We, as the opposition, need to be convinced that there is any better way forward than that.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute. Murders are down by almost half in Trinidad and Tobago since the imposition of a state of emergency on December 30 last year. Reports in the Trinidad Express newspaper are that 15 murders have been recorded in the country as at Tuesday, January 14. That's a 44% reduction in homicides from the 25 murders recorded in the corresponding period in 2024. The state of emergency was imposed after police said they received intelligence about an imminent gang war. Assistant Commissioner of Police Richard Smith gave a breakdown in the murder toll by division at a press conference on Wednesday.
The highly anticipated Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal between Israel and Hamas is set to begin on January 19. The update was confirmed by the Qatari government on Wednesday as thousands of Palestinians and Israelis celebrated news of the agreement. The ceasefire deal follows 15 months of war since Hamas's unprecedented attack on southern Israel in October 2022. The Israeli Prime Minister's office said there were several unresolved clauses, but hoped details would be finalized on Wednesday night. Meanwhile, a Hamas official said it had approved the draft from mediators. The deal will see 33 of almost 100 hostages held by Hamas exchanged for Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails over the first 6-week phase. Israeli forces will pull back from populated areas of Gaza. Displaced Palestinians will be allowed to return to their homes, and hundreds of aid lorries will be allowed into the territory. Negotiations for the second phase would start on the 16th day of the ceasefire. The third and final stage would involve the reconstruction of Gaza and the return of any remaining hostages' bodies.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, slight uptick in inflation as at the end of December.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness describes a recent call for tax on imported foods by the opposition as dangerous.
Chairman of the Jamaica Broilers Group, Robert Levy, says if not for the poultry industry, the government would have racked up billions of dollars on imports.
Former PNP caretaker for Central Kingston, Lawrence Rowe, writes the police commissioner, raising concerns about his personal safety.
I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Get qualified
qualified in Stage 1 practical nursing in only 6 months with City and Guild certificates at IIRQ Academy, located at 32 Hope Road, Kingston 10. Start online and face-to-face classes very soon and get qualified for local and overseas employment at affordable rates. Also available 7 to 9 months international certificate and diplomas in Level 3 certificate in early childhood education, Level 5 diploma in business management, pharmacy technician, medical assistant, medical lab technician, diploma in practical nursing, and travel tourism, hospitality, and entertainment. Register this month and get 2 subjects with your course for free. Call us at 876-322-4029 or 630-1084.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, will host the Health and Wellness Career Expo and Employment Fair, January 22 and 23 at 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Attendees from all schools are asked to confirm participation via email to rsvpcareerexpo@moh.gov.jm. Expect interactive booth displays, entertainment, free health screenings, and more. See you at the 2025 Health and Wellness Career Expo and Employment Fair. A career in health, the roadmap to success.
The following earthquake tip is brought to you by Digital Commodities Limited. Stay where you are until the shaking stops. Do not run outside. Do not get into a doorway, as this does not provide protection from falling or flying objects. The preceding earthquake tip was brought to you by Digital Commodities Limited. Telephone 876-960-8359.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Good afternoon with your sports report. I am Alric Swaby. We bowl things off with some cricket as Cricket West Indies CWI started 2025 with 3 groundbreaking high-performance programs aimed at elevating the standard of West Indies cricket across all levels. The initiatives brought together international expertise and regional talent in an unprecedented effort to strengthen both playing and coaching capabilities. The first 2 initiatives focused on advanced batting techniques against spin bowling and enhanced spin bowling capabilities with a focus on wrist spin. The specialized high-performance batting spin and spin bowling camp began on January 11 and runs until January 17. It features 30 of the region's most promising players. Under the guidance of Chennai Super Kings Academy head coach Sriram Krishnamurthy and spin bowling coach Amar Rashid, the 6-day intensive program aimed to refine participants' skills. For players like Matthew Nandu, Kurt McKenzie, and Kevin Wickham, this camp builds on their experience at the Chennai Super Kings Academy in India last December, where they trained alongside 4 other West Indies players. The third initiative is a coaching symposium held at the Coolies Cricket Ground in Antigua from January 13 to 15. The symposium aimed to enhance the skills of regional franchise coaches while broadening their knowledge to support franchise and international players' development. The symposium's key objectives include bringing clarity to coaches on the requirements for developing and managing players at the franchise level to meet the West Indies brand. It also aimed at empowering and enabling a collaborative learning community among coaches to achieve world-class outcomes. The symposium featured newly appointed West Indies head coach Darren Sammy as one of 6 presenters over 3 days. Coaches from the Chennai Super Kings Academy joined CWI coaching development consultant James Davidson in delivering sessions. In attendance were 11 franchise coaches and 2 from the combined campuses and colleges team. The symposium provided a platform for knowledge exchange and emphasized creating a pathway for coaching excellence in the region. Cricket West Indies remains committed to a comprehensive approach to player and coaching development, ensuring the region's cricket remains competitive and aligned with modern cricket demands. 11 coaches from 6 franchises attended the symposium, along with 2 coaches from the combined campuses and colleges team. The coach of the West Indies, Andre Kohli, says they want to end the current Test Championship cycle on a high as they prepare to face Pakistan in their final Test series of the current cycle. Both teams will meet each other in a 2-test series, with the first test set to start at the Multan Cricket Stadium on January 17. Kohli says it would be added motivation for them to go into the new cycle with a series victory.
We are in this the current Test Championship. What we have said to the players, and we all in agreement, is that we want to take the learning from 2024. So the majority of the squad would have made a debut early in 2024. We have had some good performances. We've had some disappointing ones. So as we start 2025, finishing off the current edition and look forward to the start of the next one, is really about taking the learning and the positives from the previous year, and then in a new environment for most of the players as well, is to be able to back themselves, trust the preparation, and keep learning quickly.
He was not prepared to set a winning target.
You play enough cricket and you coach enough cricket, and you know you could always put targets and numbers, but what actually matters is what happens on the day. You could say 300, you could say 250, but when you look at how players apply themselves, you could actually get a lot more than that. So it's really about backing our skills, being present in the moment, and staying in the game for as long as possible, and trying to control the game for as long as possible. That's what we're focusing on.
Andre Coley. Now to tennis, as president of Tennis Jamaica, John Azar, says the local fraternity is in a state of shock following the news of the passing of a legend in the sport, Richard Russell. 79-year-old Russell passed away on Wednesday in Montego Bay. Azar described Russell, who was conferred with the National Honor of Order of Distinction in 2022, as the father of tennis.
His many firsts on the tennis court, locally and internationally. I just say he was a legend both on and off the courts. I think as a player, there's no question as to what he achieved, but also he was a great coach, a great mentor, and, just certainly he will be sadly and sorely missed. He'll definitely leave a great void. A lot of us bounce ideas off of him on a regular basis. I mean, no question about it. His Russell Tennis Academy is still very much operational with his sons in charge of it. So it's a void that will be huge. I mean, I'm not quite sure will ever be filled. I mean, I'd say definitely Mr. Russell is a legend in every way.
John Azar. I'm Alex Swiby, and that's your sports.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you. The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:30.
The Jamaica diaspora sends over $3 billion back to Jamaica per year, but it is too complicated for them to open investment accounts in Jamaica and invest their money. Blue Maho Capital has unlocked diaspora direct investment, and we are helping to move the Caribbean forward. Learn more about us at www.bluemahocapital.com.
Delicious meals, poolside cocktails, right on the beach. Disconnect from your daily worries and reconnect with the one you love. There's no paradise like home. Enjoy a romantic all-inclusive escape at Couples Tower Island, Couples San Souci in Ocho Rios from $395 USD per night. Take advantage of this offer today by calling Couples Resorts at 876-632-8200 or by visiting couples.com. Conditions apply.
So you want to live? I walk and look over your shoulder. No sleep at night. I wonder if your family safe. Your mother, your brother, your sister, your youth them. And when you get catch, are you alone? But not there to help you. You have to talk for yourself a court. And then when you're gone behind the bars, them see them on their road. I live them life and I enjoy life. Gang violence no make no sense. Leave gang violence alone. Let's work together and make Jamaica a safer and peaceful country. Let's all live good.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
More savings, more choices. Get active with Active Home Center. The one-stop shop for everything for your home. We have more savings, more choices, unbelievable prices. Wide selection with the latest style. The kitchen, bathroom, right down to the top. Buy the hottest items on spot, don't miss out. Best options under one roof, no doubt. More savings, more choices.
Visit us in store or online at www.activehomecenter.com.
We have more savings, more choices.
Taboo topics. Voyagings after dark.
Riveting discussions.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between.
Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Boyatings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Boyatings After Dark.
Tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Regional Investments and Capital Markets Conference at the Jamaica Pegasus, Thursday, January 23. Join us and hear top experts discuss key trends, share ideas, and create strategies for growth in the region. Attend the conference and build valuable partnerships, discover new investment opportunities, and see the latest products and services. So come to the Jamaica Pegasus with Nationwide at 5, Thursday, January 23 from 6 to 8 p.m. It's the Regional Investments and Capital Markets Conference. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Jamaica Stock Exchange and Bloomahoe Capital.
Cover Story is brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Pay nothing down on a shiny, brand new Hyundai vehicle with free loan payments until March 2025. Yes, get a 2024 Hyundai vehicle and get free loan payments until March 2025. 100% financing, 2 years free service, 0 processing fees, and other sweet goodies. Drive into the new year with your new ride. Goodbye, old car. Hello, Hyundai. Hyundai. For free payments promotion. Limited stock available. Offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Good afternoon, listeners and viewers. Welcome. It is 5:34 and it's time for the cover story. I'm Siobhan Campbell and I'm set to be joined by my co-host for this afternoon, Tyrone Reed. I understand you're there now, Tyrone?
Good afternoon to you, Sir Siobhan. All the best to you for the new year, my brother. Hope you and the family are well. Top of the afternoon to all our listeners and our viewers on YouTube as well.
So you're right, this is the first time we're interacting since the new year, isn't it?
It would seem that way. I remember interacting with someone as erudite as yourself, my brother.
Flattery. The government is set to court large-scale foreign investors with upcoming legislative changes as part of its growth strategy. That's according to Finance Minister Fayval Williams. The revelation comes as concerns mount over the deceleration being faced by the Jamaican economy. Speaking recently on Nationwide this morning, Minister Williams says they're seeking to attract investors with billions of US dollars to undergo large-scale growth-inducing projects.
We're saying to investors, if you have USD 1 billion or more to invest in the Jamaican economy, come on in. We have a number of incentives that we will be rolling out. These will be very transparent through the laws, through this amendment to the bill that will be coming to Parliament pretty soon.
The voice there of the country's Finance Minister Fayval Williams. She went on to say the work on the new investment incentive started under her predecessor, Dr. Nigel Clark. She says with the legislative adjustments nearing completion, it's on track to be a game changer. However, she also sought to assure micro, small, and medium-sized businesses they will not be left out. She says it's the government's intention to solve their access to finance concerns through a corporate bond market.
And then you would have heard businesses complain about this for a while, it's access to financing. We have done a pretty good job in terms of having an environment in which we have a robust financial sector, and that includes not just banks and brokerage companies, but the stock market as well. If you recall, the junior market was pioneered some time ago, and that has been successful.
Hugely successful.
We want to go a little deeper to look at the micro market now. Smaller companies, because, the junior market, it's 50 million to and above that can go to the junior market. We want to look at smaller companies that do need access to the kind of risk capital that banks are not in a position to provide.
That's Minister of Finance Favour Williams. Well, the question is this viable and how would we go about implementing it? And for that discussion, we're being joined by President of the Private Sector Organisation of Jamaica, Metri Siaga, public commentator and former President of the PSOJ himself, Howard Mitchell, as well as opposition spokesman on investment, Anthony Hilton. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Welcome to Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, gentlemen and viewers on this note.
So let me start with the two businessmen. Metri, you first. What do you make of what the minister is suggesting, courting these US billion-dollar investors to come to Jamaica?
Well, it's not a new idea. It's something that's been bandied about for quite a while, in various different forms and with various different names. As a whole, we do support the move to bring more investors here and large investors. I think what's going to be important is seeing the details. In our opinion, it is important that the investment should be cross-cutting. It should be meaningful investment that's going to get money flowing to all parts of Jamaica and all levels of the society. And most important, it should create export. It should be able to produce and add value at a high level and to get that value exported and bring money from other markets into Jamaica. If that is done, we support it wholeheartedly.
And you, Mr. Mitchell, from where you sit, as Metri pointed out, these aren't new soundings. We've had these kind of ideas before. But do you think Jamaica is now in a much better position in terms of trying to attract those investors?
I think timing is everything. I think Jamaica is, in fact, attractive to investors because of the challenges that we have surmounted to this point. And I want to support everything that Mitchell said, but add a couple of things to it. One, I hope in this process we have evaluated the sweet spots within the Jamaican economy and guide the investors to those areas, to things like agri-processing and FMCs and all those flavor profiles that Jamaica is so good for, and also things like medical technology factories, which we, because of our geographical position, we are ideally suited to deal with. Also, I think we need to cater not only to the great market to the north, but also to look at non-traditional areas like Eastern Europe, where there are tremendous technology improvements, where people are anxious to get out of the European market, and also the Middle East. So, yes, these are not new ideas, but timing is everything. And what I think we need to do is to do our homework and to make this, as Mitri has said, a cross-cutting enterprise, a multiple ministry endeavor, and also to include the private sector and the professionals and the skill sets within the wider economy in the deliberations and the evaluations of where to attract the people to.
And Anthony Hilton, I know you recently actually criticized the government about what I would consider one of these US billion-dollar investments that would be considered the Logistics Hub Initiative. Do you see us now in a position here in Jamaica where we can actually address those concerns?
Well, first, let me say that nothing that either or both of the businessmen have said that I disagree with. I would say, in addition to that first of all, these are not just ideas being bandied about. The truth is, under the omnibus legislation, the two critical pieces of legislation are actually passed, and one of them was the large-scale projects and pioneering industry act. Now, the name for this one may have changed, but we'll be very interested to see what, other than the name, has been changed. And these acts are actually passed. So they're in 2013, and I think the Large Scale and Pioneering Industry Act took effect in 2014. So the act is on the books. Now, there are regulations that were needed, and my understanding in the research I've been able to do just to check up on what has happened is that those regulations while we started, and therefore the act did not become operational. But I'd also say that there may be something about the timing as well, because it is unquestionable that in the passage of time, and I must say, with those critical legislation that were passed, the omnibus legislations, they have driven and helped to improve the economy. Now, other things have been done to improve the macro stability, but I will further say that standing by themselves, or by itself, the legislation alone will not do the trick of getting investment. You have other subsidiary activities and each system that must be in place to be attractive, to make Jamaica the attractive place for large-scale investor and investor in general. And I speak about regulations that have to be in place. We have to do, I believe, we have to look at a regulation, look at light touch regulation. We have to look at our trading networks of agreement. Right now, because we're tied, in part because we're tied to the CARICOM arrangement, we have opened no new markets by way of trade policy or activity. So we have to look at a number of other subsidiary matters, and it's not just this piece of legislation that will do. It will not be a magic bullet.
Okay, hold there, gentlemen. We'll have more after these messages.
Clearing personal non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
5:44.
Outperform, outlast. With top performance. Jackama. Reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electricians. Fancy select tools, 3 parts and 3 repairs. 3 parts, 3 repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-61114. Delta Supply, we service what we sell.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, will host the Health and Wellness Career Expo and Employment Fair, January 22 and 23 at 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Attendees from all schools are asked to confirm participation via email to rsvpcareerexpo@moh.gov.jm. Expect interactive booth displays, entertainment, free health screenings, and more. See you at the 2025 Health and Wellness Career Expo and Employment Fair. A career in health, the roadmap to success. Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to the cover story. We're looking at the matter of large-scale investment projects. The government says it plans to bring legislation to facilitate those, attracting investors with US $1 billion or more. We have with us the president of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, Metri Siaga, a former PSOJ president and public commentator, Howard Mitchell, as well as the opposition spokesman on investment, Anthony Hilton. And I would like to take it back with you, Mr. Hilton. You say that the legislation to facilitate such projects was already on the books as far back as 2013. So what is different now in 2024 versus 2013, whereas the government seems more confident to try and attract those investors now rather than then?
No, well, I make the observation. I mean, hopefully with the passage of time, it's 9 years, that some things would have improved, not solely by any new action, but the legislation that was passed in 2013, they have taken effect and have worked to help to strengthen the fiscal situation in Jamaica, including the fiscal laws. So a lot as the passage of time, the legislation that were passed have added the benefit of time and to work themselves through. Plus, yes, the government would have acted in ensuring that things like the debt reduction continue on track. All of that would have happened. So 10 years later, with the passage of time and the benefit of some of those key pieces of legislation, including the omnibus legislation that was passed. I'm also sowing the seeds and reaping the benefits. So, yes, the environment is somewhat. But again, as I said before, do not lose sight of the points that I made earlier, that whatever legislation is passed is reshaped because, as I said, that is on books. We'll see what changes there, including a title large-scale industrial and pioneering, because, as I think Metri pointed out, the legislation has to do more than just simply grant incentive. They have to look to not just growth, but some development in new areas. And the ecosystems must be in place. So job training, the skill sets are critical. The regulatory framework, and of course, the security arrangements. All of these will combine to ensure that persons would want to respond. So it's not just the fiscal incentive, important as those are. There are other pieces of legislation.
Mitchell Siaga and Howard Mitchell, I'd love to bring you back into the conversation here at this point. I want to piggyback on something Mr. Hilton just mentioned in terms of the types of investments that we should be looking for. But before I get to whether or not that is an important aspect or how important that is, I'd love for both of you to talk about the culture of doing business in Jamaica. Are we conducive enough for these large-scale investments to be successful, Metri Siaga? The ease of doing business, the bureaucracy that we lament over so often, the bungling bureaucracy. Are we at the place, Metri Siaga, you first, and then from you, Howard Mitchell, are we at the place to really handle these types of investments well?
No. The short answer is no, and it is simply because of the bureaucracy that exists and the red tape that exists in government. And it's something that the Prime Minister has spoken to. We as the private sector have spoken to him and his government about it. We have spoken to the opposition about it. The bureaucracy and the red tape that exists in Jamaica is unmanageable by the private sector. The government has got to get out of the way of the private sector and allow investors to do what they do best, which is invest and earn and employ people and pay taxes. And whilst we have made some strides, the level of bureaucracy is just unacceptable. And every opportunity I get to say it, I'm going to say it. We need to have that fixed. The processes are designed to frustrate. And I was at a function today and the Prime Minister said the exact same thing. So it's not that he doesn't know. It's not that the government doesn't know. It's now finding a way to fix it and to get the problem solved. But if we bring any investors here, not just large, small, local, foreign, it doesn't matter. They get caught in the spider web of this bureaucracy that can't continue.
Strong words there. The processes are designed to frustrate. Before I get Howard Mitchell to comment on it, I just want to come back to you, Mitri Siaga. People with this kind of money do their due diligence. What's the likelihood that we'll be able to attract that kind of investment if this is the climate on the ground?
Money and capital goes where there's money to be made. Jamaica has some excellent things going for it. And the most excellent thing that we have going for us, our greatest asset, is our location. We are located in the Americas, where Singapore is located in Asia. There is no better location than Jamaica for adding value and selling those products into the United States of America and South America and the Caribbean. We have the two largest markets in the world, and Europe for that matter. We have the three largest markets in the world. We have good trade agreements with all three territories, and we simply have not utilized them. And the truth is that the local investor does not have the capital, the expertise, or the ability to move the needle. We need large foreign investment to come in to change the landscape of our value-added sectors in Jamaica.
Mitchell, see, I heard, Mitchell, do you share those strong words from the PSOJ president there? The processes are designed to frustrate. How much is that a hindrance?
If he wasn't my president, I would actually try to speak more strongly than him. But in the circumstances, I will defer. The fact is that the Prime Minister has recognized this. And I think I remember before Christmas the idea of being bandied about of setting up a working group to look at these processes. And that working group should include not only the members of the ministries and the state agencies, but also the private sector and the unions. And let's not leave the unions out of this. And let's not leave human capital out of this. Because before we invite these deep-pocketed companies to come in here, we have to make sure that we at least have started to put together the environment that they can come in and hit the ground running. And quite frankly, at the moment, I don't think we're there. So in kind of tying in what the Honorable Anthony Hilton has said, what we have to do is set the groundwork. The legislation is not enough. We have to make sure that we at least can put in place the facilities, the infrastructure to train up people, to have them be ready for this. And in addition to that, we all have to take a genuine look as a country at the processes that govern the way that we do business, because they are antiquated. Some of them are from the colonial past. Some of them are, unfortunately, almost designed to increase corruption, and that is the other aspect of this. Business people are not going to come in here, genuine, legitimate business people are not going to come in here and be subject to corruptive influences. They're going to leave. So we have to make sure that we cover those bases and not expose them to that. And we have to make sure that our workforce is in a position to benefit from it and to be content with the arrangements that are made. We cannot afford sweatshops in Jamaica in the 21st century.
Howard Mitchell, is this largely a fishing expedition, this undertaking, if we don't fix this bureaucracy?
Well, it's election year, but so I think what we have to do in response to the political imperative, what we as the economic society, so to speak, have to do, is to take them up on it and to make sure that it becomes more than just an exercise in words or a fishing expedition, as you call it. We have to put some substance into the party. And for too long, the private sector and civil society generally sit down and wait for the state to do things. We have to participate with them, and we have to demand that they allow us to participate with them. An idea like this, or ideas like this, can save our generation, can save our country, and we can't just sit down and allow the Minister of Finance or the Prime Minister to carry the burden by themselves. We have to participate.
That being said, Anthony Hilton, what areas do you feel are ripe for this type of large-scale investment that could really be transformative in terms of the Jamaican economy?
Well, I have to, if only because it's a vision that I've articulated and a strategy that I've articulated. Our logistic hub is critical. And I just, I have not said much lately just because the whole idea and concept had gotten so enmeshed in politics during the period. I've just kind of left it. But I think with the passage of time, persons have begun to understand. Experience would have thought that there is something called a supply chain. You may not see it, but it's real. But in order to work a supply chain, you need logistics and value-added policies and strategies. Now, Metro made the point earlier about Jamaica's geostrategic location. What better place to build a hub? The hub, and everybody else recognizes that, except I believe a lot of Jamaicans will continue to be confused about whether the hub is Goat Island or not. And it is not Goat Island. It is a much broader concept. In fact, all of Jamaica could be the hub. What it needs is the infrastructure and the frameworks to put in place. And there are many. And the things that we talked about earlier about the ecosystem, all of those have to be in place, but around the port is largely around or port activities, port-related activities, both airports and seaports activity, or internal logistics, and a number of other things that we intend to implement in government. And I must say, this administration really, I'm disappointed, and I've said it many times, it has dropped a very important ball by simply not even dusting off the Logistics Hub Initiative and Master Plan that the World Bank spend lots of money on to do the work, and the work was done, commissioned by us, but finished during the JLP administration, given to the Cabinet passed it, approved it, tabled it in Parliament, and nothing happened after that.
Are we in a position, gentlemen, to determine the types of investments that we want to welcome with this new initiative, Mr. Siaga? Are we?
Not only are we in a position to, but we must. Howard Mitchell just said it. He said we don't want sweatshops here. We have got to realize that we are a catch here in Jamaica. We have a lot of great things going for us. And we have got to start determining what are the investments that are good for us as a people, us as a nation, what is going to redound to the benefit of everybody in Jamaica, what is going to help to make us richer as a people. And those are the investments that we must go for. When others come, we are not to lie down and take any and every investment that comes to the doorstep. I don't believe in that. I think we have to be very discerning in who we choose to come and invest in our country, how they come and invest, what value do we add here before sending the products that we add value to other markets. Those are the investments we want. Those are the investments we must insist upon if we want to grow the size of our economy, which is really what we need to do.
All right, we're running out of time. But just the last one to Howard, if you'll allow me, Siobhan. Mr. Mitchell, the importance of maintaining the fiscal prudence that has caused our fiscal credit rating to get to the place where we can attempt this kind of thing. How important is that?
Very important. A great deal of the reason why business people are interested and investors are interested in Jamaica is because of the fiscal discipline that we have demonstrated over the last 11 years by both parties and the stability that has given to the economy. So it is critical. It is the single most important thing. So we definitely have to do that. And people are watching us that during an election year, we do not stray from the past.
We'll run with it. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'll run with you.
That is Howard Mitchell. He is a public commentator and former president of the private sector organization. And we also had with us the actual current president, that is Metri Siaga, as well as opposition spokesman on investment, Anthony Hilton. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The headlines are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is...
6:01.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening. With the headlines at 6, I'm Shalois Michael. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has described a recent call for a tax on imported foods by opposition spokesman on agriculture Dr. Dayton Campbell as stupid and dangerous. He came out strongly against the move while delivering the keynote address at Caribbean Broilers' grand opening of its new air processing plant on Wednesday.
Your request was for improvement in the policy environment and improvement in the infrastructure that will reduce the cost of doing business to you as you plan to increase your productivity. And as you increase productivity, you increase output. And as you increase output, you reduce the unit price of each additional good that you produce. And that is how you make consumption affordable. That's how you reduce the cost of living. So you know it, Matthew. And you have asked for the right things, and that is what the government not support you on. You did not ask for an additional tax on imported goods. You didn't ask for that. There is no clarification necessary or can be given. It is a stupid idea. Not just that, it is a dangerous idea. Jamaica has international treaties and obligations that we can't just willy-nilly ignore them.
Dr. Campbell has since withdrawn the proposal. He's since sought to clarify his position, suggesting the focus of a next PNP administration would be import substitution. However, the Prime Minister says any such tax would have harmed consumers.
So there is a view that if you put taxes on certain imports and then you use that tax to create a fund to help with the efficiency of the industry, that is one way to treat with increasing output or so forth. Now, that could work if the consumers are not Jamaican. But I want you to think of it carefully. Any tax that you put on, it is going to take away welfare from someone and possibly redistribute it to someone else. If you place taxes on imported food, the prices are not going to go down. The prices are likely to rise. Not because the cost of production has risen, but because you have set a new bar artificially. And it means that every consumer pays more. And even if you were to take that surplus in tax and say, all right, I'm going to invest it, then you're faced with this question now, who are you going to give this benefit?
Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green says the government remains committed to implementing the necessary measures to ensure that food security remains a priority. He was reacting to the grand opening of the Caribbean Broilers' new air processing plant on Wednesday.
This investment ties into what are the four fundamental pillars of the Ministry of Agriculture that I lead: food security, agribusiness development, climate smart technology, and export expansion. So clearly this will help us to be more food secure. This will go a far way because in helping in relation to moderating prices of chicken and byproducts in general, because it will increase efficiency. And the key is to bring down your unit costs. And the only way to do that is to infuse more technology. So automatically, production will increase. Automatically, things that used to go to waste will now be repurposed and be used as another stream of income. So that will make the entity in general much more efficient, much more cost-effective, and much more profitable. And we also expect that it will lead to moderation of prices as it goes on.
The new processing plant is the largest investment in the agriculture industry. Minister Green notes that the plant will also boost poultry production both locally and regionally.
This air chill processing plant will increase production by more than 30 million kilograms. What that means in real terms is that we can treat with our own food security and then look at treating with food security for the region. We can seriously replace all extra-regional chicken meat exports, and that has to be our vision by 2035.
Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Jamaica Broilers Group, Robert Levy, says if not for the poultry industry, the government would have to rack up billions of dollars on imports.
If this industry was not here, Jamaica would be spending billions of dollars to import all the chicken we require. Billions of US dollars to import all the chicken. If you take the major import into the poultry industry, it is the corn that is imported. That represents 25% of the chicken meat. The other 75% is produced right here.
So we can look forward then to Best Dressed Chicken, making sure that locally the best routes are found to make it affordable.
Yes, without a doubt.
Robert Levy, chairman of the Jamaica Broilers Group. He was speaking with Nationwide's Rodney Campbell at the grand opening on Wednesday. Opposition leader Mark Golding has accused the JLP and Prime Minister Andrew Holness of failing to provide a clear position on the matter of Jamaica's final appellate court. He says this is a position that the Prime Minister owes to the Jamaican people.
Is the government not under a fundamental duty to explain in clear and unambiguous terms why it is determined to proceed in this piecemeal fashion instead of using the historic opportunity of this constitutional reform process to ensure that the majority of the Jamaican people enjoy the benefit of access to justice to their highest court? Would the people, and we ourselves, not regard it as a welcome sign of maturity and wisdom to witness an agreement between the parties on the settled way forward for success on these new constitutional arrangements, regardless of which party wins the upcoming national elections? And is this not a most appropriate juncture for that consensus to be accomplished?
Mr. Golding also believes the Prime Minister should explain his failure to twin the removal of the British monarch and the adoption of the Caribbean Court of Justice as a sign of solidarity between the two political parties. He says the failure to deliver on these questions will impact the willingness of the opposition to take part in the constitutional reform agenda going forward.
These are matters relating to consensus in the reform of our Constitution and require answers to be provided by the head of government himself. Those answers are long overdue. Madam Chair, the answers that are forthcoming will determine the character of the opposition's cooperation in this exercise. The opposition is pushing for both sides to work together on both initiatives. We, as the opposition, need to be convinced that there is any better way forward than that.
Mark Golding, Opposition Leader. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shaloy Smikle. Sports is next.
The following earthquake tip is brought to you by Coast to Coast Concrete. Before an earthquake, know your risk. Research the area and find out if you live near an active fault line. Check whether the ground around you is more susceptible to the effects of an earthquake. You should also be aware of seismic hazards. These hazards are secondary dangers that could be triggered by an earthquake. The preceding earthquake tip was brought to you by Coast to Coast Concrete. Telephone 876-754-7472.
Excelsior Pass Students Association Network of Champions cordially invites you to our 94th Annual Founders Day, Sunday, January 19th, 2025, under the theme, Honoring Our Legacy, Building Our Future. Church service commences at 9 a.m. in the auditorium, located at 137 Mountain View Avenue. Guest speaker, Bishop Dr. Marcel R. Fullwood, class of 1983, Partners Worship Center, Canada. Following the service, join us for brunch and entertainment at 11 a.m. in the auditorium. Entertainment by Harold Davis, Prilly Hamilton, Akeef Nugent, and Shanika Jeffrey. Contributions only $5,000. For further info, call us at 876-898-8294 or email xlcrpsasecretariat@yahoo.com. Don't you miss it.
Help you take a better route. Become a mentor in the Ministry of Justice Child Diversion Program. To become a mentor, you must be a Jamaican citizen over 18 years old, literate, with at least a secondary level education, have at least 1 year working experience, be willing to volunteer for at least 1 year, and be non-partisan, confidential, and a person of integrity. Download the application form at moj.gov.jm and submit to any child diversion office island-wide. For more details, call the ministry at 888-JUSTICE. That is 888-587-8423. Help a youth take a better route. Join the Child Diversion Mentorship Program today.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alric Swaby. We kick things off with some football as Arsenal moved 4 points behind the Premier League leaders Liverpool as 2 goals in 4 first-half minutes sparked a 2-1 North London derby comeback win over rivals Tottenham.
Gabriel's header is going to fall for Son. That's the opener for Tottenham. It's a glorious technique. The Korean striking, the ball dropping from the sky, and he finishes to perfection. All of Arsenal's early pressure. But it's Tottenham who lead in the North London derby. Great whip on that one, and it is in, and it's Gabriel again. Tackled by Partey. Odegaard with the vision to spot Trossard. Brilliant goal! Trossard! 2 goals in 4 minutes! Arsenal lead for the first time tonight in the North London derby.
In other results, Aston Villa clipped Everton 1-0, Crystal Palace beat Leicester City 2-0, and Newcastle beat Wolves 3-0. Now to cricket, as Cricket West Indies CWI started 2025 with 3 groundbreaking high-performance programs aimed at elevating the standard of West Indies cricket across all levels. The initiative brought together international expertise and regional talent in an unprecedented effort to strengthen both playing and coaching capabilities. The first 2 initiatives focused on advanced batting techniques against spin bowling and enhancing spin bowling capabilities with a focus on wrist spin. The specialized high-performance batting spin and spin bowling camp began on January 11 and runs until January 17. It features 30 of the region's most promising players. Under the guidance of Chennai Super Kings Academy head coach Sriram Krishnamurthy and spin bowling coach Amar Rashid, the 6-day intensive program aimed to refine participants' skills. For players like Matthew Nandu, Kurt McKenzie, and Kevin Wickham, this camp builds on their experience at the Chennai Super Kings Academy in India last December, where they trained alongside 4 other West Indies players. The third initiative is a coaching symposium held at the Coolies Cricket Ground in Antigua from January 13 to 15. The symposium aimed to enhance the skills of regional franchise coaches while broadening their knowledge to support franchise and international players' development. The symposium's key objectives include bringing clarity to coaches on the requirements for developing and managing players at the franchise level to meet the West Indies brand. It also aimed at empowering and enabling a collaborative learning community among coaches to achieve world-class outcomes. The symposium featured newly appointed West Indies head coach Darren Sammy as one of 6 presenters over 3 days. Coaches from the Chennai Super Kings Academy joined CWI coaching development consultant James Davidson in delivering sessions. In attendance were 11 franchise coaches and 2 from the combined campuses and colleges team. The symposium provided a platform for knowledge exchange and emphasized creating a pathway for coaching excellence in the region. Cricket West Indies remains committed to a comprehensive approach to player and coaching development, ensuring the region's cricket remains competitive and aligned with modern cricket demands. 11 coaches from 6 franchises attended the symposium, along with 2 coaches from the combined campuses and colleges team. Now, coach of the West Indies, Andre Kohli, says they want to end the current Test Championships on a high as they prepare to face Pakistan in their final Test series of the current cycle. Both teams will meet each other in a 2-test series, with the first test set to start at Multan Cricket Stadium on January 17. Kohli says it would be added motivation for them to go into the new cycle with a series victory.
We are in the current Test Championship. What we have said to the players, and we all in agreement, is that we want to take the learning from 2024. So the majority of the squad would have made a debut early in 2024. We have had some good performances. We have had some disappointing ones. So as we start 2025, finishing off the current edition and look forward to the start of the next one, is really about taking the learning and the positives from the previous year, and then in a new environment for most of the players as well, is to be able to back themselves, trust the preparation, and keep learning quickly.
He was not prepared to set a winning target.
You're playing off cricket and you're coaching off cricket. You know, you could always put targets and numbers, but what actually matters is what happens on the day. You could say 300, you could say 250, but when you look at how players apply themselves, you could actually get a lot more than that. So it's really about backing our skills, being present in the moment, and staying in the game for as long as possible, and trying to control the game for as long as possible. That's what we're focusing on.
Kohli says he was pleased with security arrangement put in place by the Pakistan Cricket Board.
We have felt pretty safe here since we've been here. I don't want to comment on any kind of security concerns or whatever. The PCB has put whatever they needed to put in place from a security standpoint, so we have felt safe since we've been here.
Andre Kohli. The West Indies under-19 women suffered a crushing 79-run loss against New Zealand in their second warm-up match of the ICC under-19 Women's T20 Championships in Malaysia. Batting first, New Zealand, led by a half-century from Emma McLeod, made 152 for 2 off their 20 overs. McLeod's 50 came off 42 balls and included 4 fours, while Kate Irwin made 46. In reply, the young West Indians were bowled out for 72 inside 19 overs. Asabi Kalenda 10, Brianna Haram 16 and Kanika Kassar 13 were the only players to reach double figures. Anika Todd took 2 wickets for New Zealand. West Indies cricketers signed with bat and ball to guide the Abu Dhabi Knight Riders to a 30-runs win over Sharjah Warriors in the International League T20 on Wednesday. Batting first, the Knight Riders, led by stand-in captain Andre Russell, 24, and Kyle Mayers, 32, made 159 for 5 off their 20 overs. Adam Milne and Adil Rashid took 2 wickets each. In reply, the Warriors were bowled out for 129. Captain Tim Southey made 24, Keema Paul 21, and Ruan Mustafa 20. Jason Holder finished with 4 for 23 and Myers 2 for 16. Now to tennis, as president of Tennis Jamaica, John Azar, says the local fraternity is in a state of shock following the news of the passing of a legend in the sport, Richard Russell. 79-year-old Russell passed away on Wednesday in Montego Bay. Azar described Russell, who was conferred with the National Order of Distinction in 2022, as the father of tennis.
His many firsts on the tennis court, locally and internationally. I just say he was a legend both on and off the courts. I think as a player, there's no question as to what he achieved, but also he was a great coach, a great mentor, and, just certainly he will be sadly and sorely missed. He'll definitely leave a great void. A lot of us bounce ideas off of him on a regular basis. I mean, no question about it. His Russell Tennis Academy is still very much operational with his sons in charge of it. So it's a void that will be huge. I mean, I'm not quite sure will ever be filled. I mean, I'd say definitely Mr. Russell is a legend in every way.
He says Russell's legacy is immeasurable.
He was the first Jamaican to represent us in all 4 Grand Slams, winning a round in each of them: Wimbledon, the US Open, French Open, Australian Open. He had his great historic victory against Arthur Ashe and Charlie Pasarell of United States in Davis Cup here. So there's so many things he did on the court, but I mean, Mr. Russell was also a family man extraordinaire. He was a fantastic coach, fantastic mentor to many of us. So that's difficult to say exactly one thing for his legacy, but no doubt about it, he's a legend.
John Azar. Netball Jamaica has released the names of the under-21 squad who will face their South African counterparts in a 3-match series at the National Indoor Sports Centre. Both teams will meet before the senior teams clash in the Margaret Beckford Sunshine Series on January 18, 22 and 25. Coach of the Young Sunshine Girls, Annette Daly, welcomes the court time for her players.
The girls have not been playing in any form of competition since they went to Guadeloupe for the qualifiers. And there were some members from the Guadeloupe team that have stopped playing. So right now it's about just putting the teams together based on those who were there before and the new members coming into the squad. It is also about exposing the girls to the different styles of play.
Annette Daly. Now, head coach of the Tornadoes Swim Club, Wendy Lee, says the ASAJ development meet is essential to her swimmers' preparation for the 2025 season. The meet, which is set for the stadium pool on Saturday, is the first event on the local swimming calendar.
We're very excited about this meet as usual. We fought very hard to get this meet on the calendar because for us as coaches, what we want is our swimmers to be able to cover the middle distance and the distance races. And this meet is definitely only allow swimmers to swim long races, like a 1500, like a 1 mile swim. So we're very happy about that. It's mentally tough for the swimmers, but we really look forward to the development meets as an opportunity for the swimmers to kind of sit down and do their race and then get some one-on-one feedback from the coach without the pressure of a big meet so that we can work on the strategy of the race.
Lee says the meet gives her a chance to expose her swimmers to new events.
Because we are coaching kids who are between 12 and 15 and 16 years old, I'm a very tough coach. So for me, it is really to put the swimmers in events that they find challenging mentally. So apart from seeing how fit they are, it really is a mental challenge and mental toughness and, getting what the Americans call grit.
Wendy Lee. before I go, let me say a good evening to Hermin and the entire YouTube family. I'm Alric Swaby, and that's your sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:22.
Visit Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore, for all your prescription needs, gifts, personal care, household, and stationery items. The temperature by Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore is
28 degrees Celsius in City Kingston and 26 in Montego Bay.
Want to reduce your high electricity bills? Then Peak Energy has the solution for you. From grid tied to hybrid solar inverters with full lithium-ion battery pack. Installation and maintenance packages available. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hill, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy for everything solar.
Delicious meals, poolside cocktails, right on the beach. Disconnect from your daily worries and reconnect with the one you love. There's no paradise like home. Enjoy a romantic all-inclusive escape at Couples Tower Island Couples Sanssouci in Ocho Rios from $395 USD per night. Take advantage of this offer today by calling Couples Resorts at 876-632-8200 or by visiting couples.com. Conditions apply.
Tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Regional Investments and Capital Markets Conference at the Jamaica Pegasus, Thursday, January 23. Join us and hear top experts discuss key trends, share ideas, and create strategies for growth in the region. Attend the conference and build valuable partnerships, discover new investment opportunities, and see the latest products and services. So come to the Jamaica Pegasus with Nationwide at 5, Thursday, January 23 from 6 to 8 p.m. It's the Regional Investments and Capital Markets Conference. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Jamaica Stock Exchange and Bloomahoe Capital.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robianne Williams. It's midweek, the 15th of January, 2025. A special good evening to our friends on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for tuning in. We want to hear from you. We like to hear from you, so we ask you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. It's something that probably affects all of us. We have children, we have grandchildren, we have family. Education and Youth Minister Dr. Dana Morris Dixon says Jamaica must create environments that allow for young boys to flourish academically, especially at the secondary level in high school. She says while our girls continue to excel academically, data reveals a disconnect between Jamaican boys and academic success.
While our schools often boast remarkable female participation and outcomes, our boys are struggling with reading and literacy, sometimes feeling disengaged from academic work that fails to reflect their interests and world experiences. The secondary level is an inflection point for our boys. In fact, when you look at the data, and I've spent some time in preparing for this speech, looking at data from the ministry, and you can see the gap starts early. The gap is there from in primary school, but it gets wider when you look at the CSEC results. And then it gets even wider when you look at who is at our university. 75% in one of our most prominent are women.
Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, Education and Youth Minister, she was speaking last week during a guest lecture at Campion College. Now, she believes societal and cultural factors play a major role in creating the gap between boys and academic success. So in Public Opinion this evening, we're putting the question to you. We're asking for your views, your opinion. How can we change the education system to ensure improved outcomes for boys? I'll say that again. How can we the people, how can we change the education system to ensure improved outcomes for boys? Let's hear your suggestion. Let's hear your thoughts. What are you thinking? What can be done? What can we do? I'll start with the comments on our Facebook platform where Prince Wellington saying demand a refund from Favel for leaving no impressive mark or influence. Wow. Okay, start off very strong and hard. Sansia Campbell saying the boys and their parents have to want improved outcomes. The system can do much and no more. Yeah. Albert Morgan saying the question is ambitious children need the care and protection of the parents. What about family values? The government is not their parents. All right. Winston, bring back penmanship, comprehension, spellings, dictation, everyday devotion, composition, reading, raising and lowering of the national flag every day. Children should recite and sing the national pledge and anthem every morning and make it compulsory for boys to join libraries. That's a good one. To join libraries, get them reading, stimulate the minds. Audrey Allen saying, if we want to see a change in almost any situation that is of concern to society, we have to start in the homes, which is first agent of socialization. Also, boys must first need for a good education before anyone can help them. Right. So if you're just giving it to them and they don't need, I guess that's what Audrey Allen is saying. Yeah? Ricardo Porteous is questioning, how can teachers create a boy-friendly classroom? Creating a boy-friendly classroom environment, whole child learning, multisensory learning, opportunities to control learning, a variety of challenges both in complexity and level of difficulty, choice, peer interactions. Yeah? Nicholson is saying, change the parents first. How can we achieve critical thinkers at home? In school, time is 7 hours. At home is 18 hours. Beverly Barrett saying to us that boys that want to make a difference will do so. And Ricardo Porteous have some long things here, a long list of things that can be done. He's talking about motivating boys, addressing gender stereotypes, addressing social emotional learning. Yeah? Tamika is saying, give boys more room to express themselves. They are actually very emotional, contrary to what people might think. Give them teachers who have genuine interest in the development of youth and can get down to earth with them while teaching. Boys hate a strict disciplinarian with no sense of humor. Get teachers who are good at their craft but will also pause the lesson to share a life experience with them. And I can tell you from experience, that works. I had teachers in high school. I had teachers who were real down to earth. And you know who come out with distinction? The entire class came out with distinction. I'm talking about theater arts. However, we can understand the drama and the theatrics to it. But down to earth teachers work. The down to earth teachers with a sense of humor, I believe, have a lot to do with the teaching and learning process. You relate to the students better in a way, I would think. Let me see if I can get in a few more to the question. How can we change the education system to ensure improved outcomes for boys? On Instagram, Jamaica Snapshot is saying better parenting. These boys are under no rules or regulation. Their parents are afraid of them, and when you try to encourage or counsel them, their parents defend them. Yeah? Steffi is saying the answer isn't unknown, but the teachers just need to be paid more and given the resources so it can be done. All right? Team Odyssey believes that rules are rules. You know the children them with high grades, no outside, lock out to cause a ear, is always the dunce one them. Wow. I stay far away from calling children or a student or anybody dunce. The one them that I'm a pain to the teachers. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can get to the comments on our YouTube platform real quick. I don't know where the time is going, but let's see. David Nabarb says kids are the product of the homes. Coffee Jam believes that more male teachers and principals needed. San, we will always have boys in broken homes, so we won't catch them all. So what the schools can do is make it compulsory for them to join even one club or a particular club. I think that's already in place. Maybe more strident, needs to be more stridently enforced. Lenny James is saying experimental learning and hands-on learning create structure. Daniel Williams saying well-needed successful mentors. Wilbert, encourage more decent, honest, and smart men to become mentors to our boys. Totally agree with that. Grounded on the tarmac saying we can't. We never will. So talk till you're blue in the face. Wow, that's an approach right there. Welcome your views nonetheless. Ian Williams said down-to-earth teachers work as they make the lesson fun and want boys to learn and pass their exams. Coffee Jam, curriculum not structured for bio. Is that what you're saying? Affectionate, Forest Bridge, sporting activity, make boys interested in school. Yeah. So what I'm getting is that more home, more in the home. Erica Barnett says a separate school system by the sexes might be worth a 10 to 15 years try. Eric Barnett saying again, it would be nice if all male students in the middle school need a male mentor. Pekka believes that we should give them more hands-on training. Yeah. A lot of comments coming in on this one, and we really and truly do appreciate the comments coming in. Elarita Mitchell, if our boys are not impressed upon the importance of getting an education, I'm not talking about go do your schoolwork. Parents have always create space for them to fail. Oh, you're saying the parents create the space for them to fail. Parenting, good parenting works. I mean, you can have children who deviate, and go their separate ways. But good parenting, just as a parent, let it not be said that you did not try. Let it not be said that you did not try. Take up him book. Ask him where am I doing at school. All if him reach 9th grade, you follow up as a parent. And I'm not just putting this on the parent because we're asking what can be done overall in general, the school system. But yeah, that's all the time we have for public opinion. We do and truly really hope that our boys will get there someday, and the system, we will propel them. Thank you so much for participating in Public Opinion. The Business Report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, industrial automation and control solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:35.
Annual eye examinations not only assess your vision, but may be life-saving. Eye tests may detect serious health issues that go beyond your vision. Call IQ Optical to schedule your comprehensive eye test today.
The temperature by IQ Optical is
28 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 26 Southwest in Montego Bay. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Jamaica's point-to-point inflation rate has risen slightly to 5% as at the end of December. That's according to the latest bulletin released by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin. It's up from 4.2% in the previous month. The slight uptick was mainly influenced by the point-to-point inflation rate for the divisions of food and non-alcoholic beverages, housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels, and restaurants and accommodation services. While slightly up, the rate of inflation remains within the Bank of Jamaica's target range of 4 to 6%. The increase also follows the central bank's recent moves to lower its policy rate in order to spur economic activity. Further afield, borrowing costs for the UK government have plunged as an unexpected drop in inflation and in the US raised bets that central banks will cut interest rates in the months ahead. The yield or interest rate charged on key UK government debt dropped below 4.8%, retreating after last week's surge when it had hit the highest level in 16 years. The moves followed new figures showing inflation cooled to 2.5% in December from 2.6% in the prior month. It has eased pressure on Chancellor Rachel Reeves, whose budget policies have been criticized for contributing to the market turmoil. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 157 Jamaican dollars and 61 cents to buy $1. It cost 193 Jamaican dollars and 25 cents to buy £1 British pound, and 109 Jamaican dollars and 97 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Roby Ann Williams. Good evening.
Registration is now open for Sagicor Sigma Run 2025. Register now and get ready to run, walk and wheel for a cause. Our beneficiaries are Sir John Golding Rehabilitation Center, Father Holang and Friends Foundation, and the Kingston Public Hospital. Be a part of Sagicor Sigma Run 2025. Make sure you're there on February 16 for the Caribbean's biggest road race. Visit SagicorSigmaRun.com and register now. Sponsored by Walden, Pan Jam, National Baking Company, Reggae Marathon, Catherine's Peak, Millet Media and Whistling Frog.
The following earthquake tip is brought to you by Conrad Douglas and Associates Limited and its subsidiary, Environmental Science and Technology Limited. When planning new developments, incorporate seismic hazard assessments in the environmental impact assessment process. The preceding earthquake tip was brought to you by Conrad Douglas and Associates Limited and its subsidiary, Environmental Science and Technology Limited. Telephone 876-929-0023.
Pay nothing down on a shiny, brand new Hyundai vehicle with free loan payment until March 2025. Yes, get a 2024 Hyundai vehicle and get free loan payment until March 2025. 100% financing, 2 years free service, 0 processing fees, and other sweet goodies. Drive into the new year with your new ride. Goodbye, old car. Hello, Hyundai for free payments promotion. Limited stock available. Offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jackama figure dig the wall.
Our Total Tools.
Lead walker figure trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand.
Total Tools.
We rent them, sell them and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, a Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option.
Total Tools located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slive Road, Kingston.
And lot C6 Jacksaw, St. Anne's Bay. Call us today.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, will host the Health and Wellness Career Expo and Employment Fair, January 22 and 23 at 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Attendees from all schools are asked to confirm participation via email to rsvpcareerexpo@moh.gov.jm. Expect interactive booth displays, entertainment, free health screenings, and more. See you at the 2025 Health and Wellness Career Expo and Employment Fair. A career in health, the roadmap to success.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. It's 6:41, and it is time for the nation's business. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Top of the evening to you, listeners and viewers. I'm Tyrone Reed.
And we go to the Parliament today, where they held their inaugural sitting of the Constitutional Joint Select Committee, which will be navigating that legislation to turn Jamaica into a republic and remove the British monarch, as Jamaica's head of state. And During that sitting, opposition leader Mark Golding threatened to withdraw his caucus from the Joint Select Committee if Prime Minister Andrew Holness does not address the matter of Jamaica's final appellate court. The committee, which was established, as I said, to review the proposed legislation to remove the British monarch as a head of state, held its first sitting today. And in a rare move, the opposition leader not only sat in on the committee, but delivered his ultimatum through his opening remarks at the inaugural meeting.
Well, listeners and viewers, Mr. Golding accused the JLP and Prime Minister Holness of failing, as he described it, to provide a clear position on the matter of Jamaica's final appellate court. He says this is a position that the Prime Minister owes to the Jamaican people.
The opposition has acceded to the request of the government to be a part of this Joint Select Committee of Parliament to deliberate on this bill, which seeks, among other things, to have Jamaica move to become a republic within the Commonwealth, and indeed we are now meeting for the first time. The aim for Jamaica to abandon the British monarchy has long been the settled public position of the People's National Party. Indeed, for several national elections, it has been a prominent feature of the party's campaign manifestos. From as far back as the 1970s, it was the subject of consideration by a committee established under the Michael Manley-led administration then. And 30 years ago, in 1995, in the report of the David Corr chaired Joint Select Committee on Constitutional and Electoral Reform, there was full and firm acceptance by Parliament of a recommendation that the matter of Jamaica becoming a republic should be pursued in earnest. Neither party has ever veered from that well-documented position throughout the years. And I reaffirm today that the opposition wants Jamaica to become a republic, delinking from the British monarchy, and more. I also say to this committee and to the nation that as far as I am concerned, the rights, interests, benefits, and privileges of the people of Jamaica are paramount in this matter, over and above everything else in the remit of the opposition and of myself as its leader. And it is with that in the forefront of my mind that I make this preliminary statement here. Madam Chair, during this 21st century, the Jamaica Labour Party, in or out of government, has never given to the public an indication of its support for Jamaica to withdraw from the British monarch's court, not even as an interim measure. Furthermore, by the tabling of this bill, the government has cemented its intention for the Jamaica to move away from the British monarchy while still remaining tied to the British monarch's court. The opposition that I lead, on the other hand, far from seeking to block either initiative, seeks the pursuit and success of both initiatives. Two instead of one. We say time come for full decolonization. Our position rests on the foundational principle to which all political parties in democracies must abide. It remains the sacred duty of the People's National Party. That principle asks the abiding question: how can the vast majority of the Jamaican people be left behind, particularly in a process of decolonization? Is it not they who colonization had made less fortunate? Why should they continue to remain deprived of the fundamental right of access to justice at the highest level? On behalf of the Jamaican people, therefore, the opposition is forced, dutifully, to pose certain questions to the government, and which we are concerned should, at this historic juncture, be recorded by Hansard. Hence, we agreed to be a part of this committee from the outset.
That's Opposition Leader Mark Golding. Have you, in your time in journalism, Tyrone, have you ever seen that before? The Opposition Leader himself sitting in on a Joint Select Committee meeting?
I've never specifically covered Parliament as a beat, but I can't say I recall it though, Siobhan. I'm more interested in the substance and not the form though of the opposition leaders still going down this road of basically saying the two things need to be twinned to get the support of the opposition. I really believe it's an ill-advised position that the opposition leader is taking, and now he's framing it in such a way as if he's doing it on behalf of the Jamaican people. You know, I don't know that we can't do this in phases as is proposed by the government. What is so terribly wrong with doing it in phases? The primary thing is that we need to remove the monarch, England's monarch, as the head of state. A visitor to this country is the head of state. Yes, one not born here on this soil is the head of state, and that is so. And I'm not certain I would twin that with removing from the final appellate jurisdiction of the Privy Council. Not saying that we shouldn't, yeah, but views are divided on it. I'm not certain why the opposition is digging their heel into the ground on this issue. Perhaps you understand it, Siobhan.
Well, I mean, I support Jamaica going to the CCJ, although my most opportune belief is that the final appellate court should be here in Jamaica. But in my opinion, after recent events, I feel like Mr. Golding is not the perfect vessel to deliver that message. And I still also agree that the matter, considering the contention it raises, should not be twinned with just the simple removal of the British monarch. I feel that this forces us into a position where it drags on into the point where it just simply does not happen.
Exactly, and that is, and you've made a very astute point there. The opposition leader and the PNP continues to be tone deaf on this issue, having the opposition leader who is also a citizen, former citizen of Britain. When this entire thing started, he was a British citizen, and he's still not. They're not seeing how tone deaf that is. I'm not certain why they're twinning both issues when they've known over the years this has been a politically divisive issue. I do not get it. Yeah, I do not get it, and I have to question whether this is an attempt at preventing Jamaica from moving to the Republic under a JLP administration.
Well, the opposition leader also believes the Prime Minister should explain his failure to twin the removal of the British monarch and the adoption of the Caribbean Court of Justice as a sign of solidarity between the two political parties.
These are our questions for the government. 1. The bills to move to the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, as Jamaica's final court of appeal, were tabled in this Parliament for the second time 10 years ago. Are the people of Jamaica not entitled to be told why the government has not tabled the CCJ bills again, thereby signaling that both sides, government and opposition, will work together to accomplish the twin objectives of transitioning both from the British monarchy and from the British monarch's court? 2. Bearing in mind that the history of the constitutional reform process over the last 30 years has, undeniably, birthed a certain distrust factor, would the government not, like the opposition, wish for that to be put behind us before embarking on this leg of the historic legislative process and referendum for Jamaica to become a republic? 3. Is the government not under a fundamental duty to explain in clear and unambiguous terms why it is determined to proceed in this piecemeal fashion, instead of using the historic opportunity of this constitutional reform process to ensure that the majority of the Jamaican people enjoy the benefit of access to justice to their highest court? After all, the CCJ, as a globally respected regional institution, has long been provided to serve this purpose, and is doing so with excellence that is internationally acclaimed. 4. Would the people, and we ourselves, not regard it as a welcome sign of maturity and wisdom to witness an agreement between the parties on the settled way forward for success on these new constitutional arrangements, regardless of which party wins the upcoming national elections? And is this not a most appropriate juncture for that consensus to be accomplished? Madam Chair, in considering those 4 questions, we should remind ourselves that the former Prime Minister, Bruce Golding, when he opened the Charter of Rights debate in the House of Representatives in 2011, made it clear to his colleagues that for success in these initiatives, consensus is essential. That is as true now as it was then, because that is what constitutional reform requires. The 4 questions I've posed, Madam Chair, are not posed for you to answer. These are matters relating to consensus in the reform of our Constitution and require answers to be provided by the head of government himself. Those answers are long overdue. Madam Chair, the answers that are forthcoming will determine the character of the opposition's cooperation in this exercise. The opposition is pushing for both sides to work together on both initiatives. We, as the opposition, need to be convinced that there is any better way forward than that.
The voice here of the opposition leader, Mark Golding, again making his case about twinning the removal of the British monarch to Jamaica acceding to the final appellate jurisdiction of the CCJ. He's asking, what's the justification of not twinning the removal of the Privy Council with the removal of the British monarch?
Let me repeat and stress. We need answers to these questions because the way in which the process is moving will condemn the majority of our citizens to remaining way out of sight back there without their fundamental right of access to justice being assured, and with no guarantee of their interests ever reaching the front page. The current approach leaves the people's interests behind. It is our sacred duty to bring them forward. Madam Chair, in the name of all that is good, all that is caring, considerate, and true, this situation must, in all conscience, be remedied before there can be opposition support. The opposition has sought the answers to these questions before, and now we seek them again of the government at this game-changing juncture in the country's history. As it stands, the government is leading Jamaica into a situation in which the British monarchy would have been ditched, the head of state would no longer be in Buckingham Palace, but Jamaicans would have to obtain a visa and would have to pay many, many millions of dollars to enjoy the privilege of gaining entry into their highest court, the court of the very same abandoned British monarch. What justification can there be for preserving such a backward, self-doubting, and undesirable state of affairs? The government must answer this question and explain its insistence on a piecemeal approach, which could only be premised on a lack of self-respect and shamelessness as a people. This opposition must reject that approach. We could not support or facilitate such a proposal, and certainly not under the roof of George William Gordon House. So, Madam Chair, I wish to make it pellucidly clear that we also have some other serious concerns in relation to some of the contents of this bill, which we would wish to tackle in the deliberations of this Joint Select Committee. However, the fundamental question of access to justice in the interests of the Jamaican people must be addressed first. As such, as from the adjournment of this morning's meeting, we may ask to be excused from further participation in this committee pending the answers to these questions being given to the public by the Prime Minister.
Opposition leader Mark Golding there essentially threatening to pull his members from the Joint Select Committee if the Prime Minister does not address his concerns favorably, I should say.
No, why? And again I ask, Siobhan, what is the utility of taking this approach towards a matter that requires consensus. The opposition leader is here and now pretending, and he has been pretending, as if the CCJ is the only option, because they've settled in their minds that CCJ is the option for them. A number of Jamaicans may believe that. There are some Jamaicans who want to stay with the Privy Council, and others are floating the idea of our own final appellate court right here. So to dig your heels in the ground on the CCJ or bust, I do not understand why the opposition leader is taking this approach to such a critical matter. And the principal thing here is to remove the British monarch as head of state. The final appellate court is a significant issue, you know. Not trying to downsize it at all. It is. But is it worth this approach? Why can't we do it in phases? Why can't we have a referendum on the matter as to which way we go?
I think that's a complicated issue in terms of the opposition. I think on one part it's a bit of ire on the fact that they tried to get this thing done before and the JLP refused to do it, so they have that unfortunate issue that is driving this attempt to push it through now. And then the CCJ, I believe, is partially the brainchild of essentially former PNP governments in concert with similar-minded governments across the Caribbean region.
That's the region.
So I believe they feel like it is their court. But again,
Siobhan, the majority of the people of Jamaica, they elected the JLP to lead at this time, yeah? And you can't just oppose them for opposing sake, to do something that the majority of Jamaicans would agree to, one would think, which is to remove the King of England as the country's head of state. Why would you want to hold up the process when you know the CCJ is a divisive issue? I do not understand it. Genuinely, I don't understand it.
Well, the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, Marley Malahufort, attempted to address some of those issues, though she did say that, yes, the Prime Minister will be the one to respond to Mr. Golding. She still attempted to make her attempt at addressing some of them. She says previous attempts to do everything at once in other jurisdictions have failed.
You're asked about the position of the government, essentially. It's not an unreasonable ask, to my mind. In your questions, however, are clues of important differences in the approach that People's National Party takes from a Jamaica Labour Party. I don't think that it's unique that competing political parties have different perspectives. So while I am not seeking to answer your questions, but I will do my best to ensure that answers are provided to you, I just want to say that this is not a piecemeal approach to the reform of the Constitution, not at all. The terms of reference which informed the work of the Advisory Constitutional Reform Committee sets out clearly the overarching goal of a Labour Party administration in relation to constitutional reform. The research shows that attempts to do everything at once have failed miserably across the globe and in the Commonwealth Caribbean. And it would be most unwise of us if we do not heed lessons that stare us in the face. We have not had a referendum in independent Jamaica, and I think that more than a Jamaica Labour Party administration, People's National Party administrations have spoken passionately about constitutional reform, passionately about reforms that would engage the deeply entrenched alteration mechanism. And anecdotes are widespread about why the work did not go forward because of this fear of holding a referendum. There is no, within the political culture, anecdotes that referenda are really not on the subject matter that goes to the electorate, but on the performance of government. Prime Minister Holness has decided that he would take the political risk to move Jamaica forward and to move on. But like all risks, they have to be managed. And we have seen how, even with smaller changes, systems have gone into chaos. So we do not share the view that this is a piecemeal approach at all. We are saying that we are implementing the reform goals in phases, because if we bite off more than we can chew, we may choke. And we certainly do not want to throw our system into chaos and risk instability in the democracy.
That is Legal and Constitutional Affairs Minister Marlene Malahu Fort. Yes, Tyrone?
You know, and this is a recording because I'm sure I've heard the government articulate previously that this is being done on a phased basis. That argument that she just offered there is not new. So again, I'm still not certain why the opposition is taking this course. But the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Minister went on to say she also disagrees that the rights of Jamaicans are being disregarded by not acceding, to the CCJ now.
Well, unfortunately, listeners, we don't have any more time to hear out the full audio for the minister, but it is available on the Public Broadcasting Commission's website in its full if you want to hear much of her rebuttal to Mr. Golding, along with other contributions from Shireen Golding Campbell and other members of the Joint Select Committee. We, however, have another interview to do after these messages.
GK1 now introduces third-party motor insurance from GK General Insurance. Download and log into the GK1 app, then select one of 3 affordable third-party options. The time by GK General Insurance is
7:04.
It's flu season. Take DPH adult or children's formulation and eliminate your sniffling, coughing, sneezing, and itching. The temperature by DPH, minimize the symptoms, maximize the relief, is...
It's 28 degrees Celsius here in the capital city, Kingston, and 26 out west in Montego Bay.
The Jamaica diaspora sends over $3 billion back to Jamaica per year, but it is too complicated for them to open investment accounts in Jamaica and invest their money. Blue Maho Capital has unlocked diaspora direct investment, and we are helping to move the Caribbean forward. Learn more about us at www.bluemahocapital.com.
Sunday, February 16, 2025 will be pure energy and excitement as thousands hit the streets, running, walking and wheeling with a purpose. The Sagicor Sigma Run isn't just a road race, it's a celebration of people coming together to make a difference. Don't miss the Caribbean's biggest running event, Sagicor Sigma Run 2025. Visit SagicorSigmaRun.com and register now. Run for the fun, donate for the cause. Sponsored by Walden, Pan Jam, National Baking Company, Reggae Marathon, Catherine's Peak, Malay Media and Whistling Frog.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Taboo topics. Voyagings after dark.
Riveting discussions.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Voyagings After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Voyagings After Dark.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Alan Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we are all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, and this segment is one for the ladies. It's the importance of women's heart health. As we enter a new year, many of us are making resolutions to prioritize our health and well-being. This year, chair of the Heart Institute of the Caribbean Foundation, internist and menopause specialist Dr. Dania Baugh wants to encourage women to put their heart health first. Dr. Baugh is an advocate for women's health and a leading expert in her field. With her perspective and expertise in the areas of functional, integrative, and aesthetic medicine, Dr. Baugh is eager to empower Jamaican women to focus on the heart of self-care. And she joins us now. Good evening, Dr. Baugh.
Actually, this is Dr. Madhu, not Dr. Baugh.
Well, we're also being joined by co-founder and executive chairman of the Heart Institute of the Caribbean, Dr. Ernest Madhu.
Yeah.
So
Good evening to you, Dr. Madhu.
Do we not have Dr. Baugh with us?
You certainly
do.
My apologies for the confusion there. My apologies.
No, not a problem. I'm just not an expert on menopause. I can certainly speak about women's health and with specific attention to heart health.
Okay. So go ahead, Tyrone. Go ahead.
I can definitely talk about heart disease in women. And Dr. Baugh is the expert on menopause, and she can address the issues around menopause.
All right. So you want to go first, since we are talking about the importance of women's heart health. Pardon me, Dr. Madhu. Talk to us about that. How important is it? How affected are women by heart disease?
So heart disease in women is one of those areas that deserve a lot of attention, because we're learning more and more that heart disease might present slightly different in women than it is for men. And traditionally, we have focused on the presentations that men have with heart disease, especially when in the acute phase, where men will typically present with classical features of chest pain, shortness of breath, and radiation of the pain from one side to the arms and stuff like that. But women often might present with what we call atypical features. Some of those atypical features may be recognizing that they are more fatigued than usual. They may present more with shortness of breath rather than classical chest pain. Sometimes it could be just a general feeling of being unwell. In the past, it used to be assumed that women do not have a high risk of heart disease, but we are recognizing that as women are getting older, especially when they're after the when they get into the menopausal years, their risk for heart disease begins to rise. And so we encourage women to seek the attention of their doctor, and we're encouraging doctors not to be neglectful of disease in women.
And can you explain that to us, Dr. Baugh? What is the link between the menopausal years and an increased risk of heart disease?
Okay, so certainly I can. So what happens as women go through that life transition, your hormones start to change, particularly estrogen levels. And so when you're going through menopause, you have a significant drop in your estrogen levels. And we know that estrogen actually is protective against heart disease. Estrogen also, when you have ample stores of estrogen, your cholesterol levels are usually more balanced. And so as we age and our hormones start to change, we see an increase in cholesterol levels, we see an increase in blood pressure, we actually can see increased abdominal fat and weight gain. And so other risk factors that we notice with estrogen changes, and just those things can actually lead to an increasing risk of having heart disease, and in particular heart attacks as well.
Well, what are some of the other common misconceptions about women's heart health? Dr. Madu?
Well, would you
okay, so I'll let Dr.
either
Baugh
of you,
speak
yes.
about it. But briefly, I think, as I said earlier, one of the most damaging misconceptions is that heart disease is uncommon in women. And so, especially the one we call coronary artery disease. And because of that misconception, sometimes when women present with symptoms that are not classically the type of symptoms men usually will present with, there is a tendency to assume that the symptoms are not heart disease related, and so physicians may be a bit dismissive of it, which could be potentially catastrophic for women.
Go ahead, Siobhan.
I was just wondering if Dr. Baugh could add then specifically, are there any specific concerns and issues that relate particular to women as opposed to men when it comes to either the prevention or managing risks for heart disease?
Yes. So I'm going to tack on to something that Dr. Madu said and a question you asked before about the myths. And so one of, I think, the biggest myths and the biggest disservices, right, that happens with women and heart disease is this prevailing thought that women die from, for example, breast cancer, or women die from other female-related cancers that don't affect men. And so we tend to have a lot of attention and a lot of funding, so to speak, poured into those issues. Not that they're unimportant, let's get it clear, but the fact is that when you stack up most causes of death and disability, they will never stack up to cardiovascular disease in both men and women. So I want to be clear that when women present to any doctor, one of the things we should always be doing is looking for the presence of heart disease and not just doing mammograms and pap smears. So the next question you asked, really what I'd like to see is when women present that we're thinking about how old is this woman and what issues present in this particular woman at this particular time in her life, right? So if we know that the woman is of an age where they're going through either perimenopause, which is in the ramp up period to menopause, or they're actually going through menopause, which means that their periods have stopped, we have to start thinking that the hormones have changed. And if the hormones have changed, so has the risk. And therein, our management should then shift to suggesting that we proactively manage perimenopause and menopause, and one of those proactive measures may be considering the use of hormone replacement therapy. So those are my things, and to be honest, it is so underutilized that I think it deserves to be kind of top of mind for both doctors and patients, that hormone replacement may be indicated, and women at least deserve to have a conversation about that.
And are there any risks related to that type of therapy that women should consider if they're interested in pursuing it?
Such a good question. Yes, there are. But you know what I tell everybody is just living has risks, right? If we take Panadol, when you look at the package insert, it's like 90 things long. So in the properly selected woman, that means if you are within 10 years of the onset of menopause, and if you are within the ages of 50 to 59, it is all gas and no brakes. If you're falling outside of that sweet spot, so to say, we want to look really closely at each woman and to what we call risk stratify, where we say, okay, this is the risk, but this is the benefit, and balance that out. So we want to look at your family history of breast cancer, for example, because outside of that sweet spot, ages 50 to 59, within 10 years of menopause, your risk of breast cancer, we think, is elevated to a certain degree. Now, it doesn't mean that your risk doubles, but there is an increased risk. We want to make sure that you don't have any increased risks of clots or deep venous thrombosis, which are like clots in the legs, and or any issues like that. But what I always want to point out is let's look at the positives. Apart from just cholesterol and stabilizing high blood pressure and perhaps decreasing the risk of heart disease, we also know that osteoporosis, we know that dementia, we know that memory, separate and apart from dementia, but just how clear you are while you're continuing to live your life, we know that all of those things are improved by being on hormone replacement therapy. So these are things that we would put into the whole goodie bag and shake it when we're deciding what it is we're going to do for each woman, right? We would look at how many people in your family have had heart attacks. How many people in your family have had Alzheimer's or early dementia? And so we look at those things and look at what is happening with you, and then we make a recommendation that is tailored specifically for each woman as opposed to populations at large.
In terms of, let me shut that one and ask you this, Dr. Ball. In terms, as far as root causes go for heart disease in women, are there any similarities? Are there differences in terms of the root causes as it relates to women and men?
Yes. So similarities, definitely. Let me just put this one out there because I don't think people talk about it as much. Stress, right? That does increase.
I was afraid you're going to say that, Dr. Ball. So men might be the main root cause of women having heart disease.
You said no. You're thinking my kind of talk.
I was trying to coach the question in a way that wouldn't elicit that response, but men might be responsible for this.
Absolutely. Stress, diet, support dietary habits that lead to high cholesterol and then ultimately can lead to a heart attack. Smoking. There is nothing under the sun that smoking is good for, and everything that it is bad for. we know a sedentary lifestyle where you're not exercising and deconditioning, so now you have increased risk not only for being obese but for having heart disease. And obesity in and of itself is a risk factor for heart disease. And I know that Dr. Mack can talk quite a bit about what we would do to make sure that women are not in poor health and at increased risk. But one of the things I will say is that all of these things have in common inflammation, and inflammation seems to lead to heart disease. The main difference, though, with risk is that men don't tend to have changes in their hormones that lead to increased heart disease risk. So at least not currently as it is thought of, although men certainly do have changes in their hormones too as they get to midlife. So, Doc, what do you think?
Yeah, okay, just quickly, very good set of comments. Women have the same traditional risks as men and more, as Dr. Ball has said, especially when the hormones begin to change. In Jamaica particularly, we have a problem with hypertension being a major promoter of cardiovascular disease. Hypertension is very common in Jamaica. In some estimates, anywhere from 35 to 50% of the adult population, and that is people between the ages of 15 and 74 that have been sampled. That means that 1 in 3 or 1 in 2 men or women may have hypertension. The prevalence of hypertension begins to rise in women as they get older. Diabetes is a major problem. About 11 to 12% of the Jamaican population have diabetes. That is 1 out of 10 people. Overweight or obesity, as we say, is a bigger problem in women than men, but nevertheless, 4 out of 10 men in Jamaica are either overweight or obese, and 6 out of 10 women are overweight or obese. Now, obesity itself is an independent risk factor, but is also a promoter of other risk factors like high blood pressure and diabetes. The more obese you are, the more risk of developing diabetes. And this will be the type 2 diabetes we talk about. And so if you look at this collectively...
And Dr. Madu, that increase the chances of heart disease as well?
Oh, yes. Heart disease is increased. So when I talk about cardiovascular disease, I'm generically speaking of increased risk of heart disease and stroke. And diabetes is a major promoter of heart disease. And then heart attack.
So our cultural acceptance of thickness, you know, I don't want to. I'm trying to be delicate with it, right? Or the cultural acceptance for our women being thick, might be problematic.
It's part of the problem, and that's not surprising why the incidence of heart attacks are rising in Jamaica. By our own estimate, we think about 7,500 heart attacks occur every year in Jamaica, and at least 3,200 of those are in women. And if you look at self-reported data, then we have about 12,000 Jamaicans at any point in time who self-report they're living with a heart attack, and those are the ones that have survived it. And unfortunately, as you know, in many parts of Jamaica, treatment for a heart attack has to be immediate, and that is not routinely available. And if there is no immediate treatment, we know that 1 in 4 will die quickly from a heart attack. And so we know a lot of people are not surviving it because we don't have the mechanism to take care of a lot of people, and that is one of the things we are trying to promote at the Heart Institute of the Caribbean.
The rate there that you just mentioned, or the total figures in terms of the numbers, that people who die of heart attack in Jamaica, 7,500, you say?
We estimate that every year about 7,500 people and
3,200
that's the ones that suffer
not die, have heart attacks.
And we estimate that about half of that number have a second heart attack. Now, if you're looking at self-reported people who have survived and report that, yes, they have had a heart attack and survived. That's about 12,000 people. That's a lot of people. And recognizing that if you do not get treatment urgently with a heart attack, many people do not survive. So now you can imagine the number of people that have not survived because we don't have the mechanism to treat all of these people acutely as is required.
Let's go with that number then, Doc. That's 7,500, Dr. Madhu.
Yeah.
That report having a heart attack. And women represent 3,200 of that. In terms of global average, in terms of men and women who report having heart attack per annum, where do we stand in terms of the numbers for all women? Is that higher than the international average or round about the same thing?
Okay, very good question. The number for Jamaica mirrors what's happening around the world. But what the bad news for us is that it is rising, right? The number reporting is rising in Jamaica because of rising risk factors. We're getting more people with diabetes, we're getting more people with high blood pressure, we're getting more people with more increased cholesterol level. And unfortunately, our health systems are not adequate enough to have adequate preventive measures or treatment, early treatment for these people. So globally, the number of diabetes is rising, hypertension is rising, but in many other societies where the systems are better in place, the outcomes are better managed and more people are surviving. So we are in a very difficult situation where we're increasing the number of people with heart attacks, but we don't have the ability for early treatment of heart attacks to prevent premature death and disability.
So Dr. Ball, we need to address this cultural acceptance of thickness in our women. We need to adjust that.
We certainly do. And the question, too, let me just drill down that you were asking even about where does Jamaica compare? Where do we
rank globally? Yes.
Globally. We're in the 160s, so we're anywhere between, I think, from time to time it has varied between 162 and 169. So our rank is not that good. But as Dr. Madhu said, I'm giving the flip of what he said. We have, while other countries may not be ranked as high, or as poorly as we are, many of them have already maxed out their ability to treat. So they're doing all the right things in the right time. We have areas that we can work on, and working on those areas would make a significant impact. So it's both bad and good for us in that if we make a few kind of changes, both policy-wise and public health-wise, we should reap significant benefit from that. And one of those changes that we could make, short of bolstering our healthcare system and improving access in real time to the treatment of heart attacks while it's ongoing, but one of the low-hanging fruit is decreasing our glorification of sickness, as you said. So we want you to be. We're not necessarily wanting skinny, but healthy. We're looking for healthy and strong these days.
Very important information to provide there. That is Dr. Dania Baugh. She's the chair of the Heart Institute of the Caribbean HIC Foundation. She's also an internist and menopause specialist. We also had with us the co-founder and executive chairman of the Heart Institute of the Caribbean, Dr. Ernest Madhu. Thank you both, ladies and gentlemen,
thanks
for joining us this
for
evening.
that public service there. Yes, and Siobhan, owing by what we just learned, you may have to adjust your taste for the health of our female population.
And the one in your mind.
Very well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this evening. It was very informative.
Thank you for having us.
Well, we take this short break, listeners, and then we come back. This time, I promise, with your calls. And the numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255.
Enjoy the best coverage for the things you own and those you care about. Protect what matters most with life, health, and general insurance. The time by Sagicor Life and Advantage General is
7:31.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional. Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Growth versus development debate. Relative to its many assets, talented people, sun, sea, and sand, minerals like bauxite and gypsum, agricultural produce like Blue Mountain coffee, and the country's proximity to the world's richest markets in North America, Jamaica's economy may be the most underperforming in the world relative to its many assets. The medicine being prescribed by the doctor or economic planners has allowed the patient, Jamaica, to sit up in bed with the vitals functioning. But will the patient ever get up and walk? One thing that has made Jamaica's economy into the sick man of the world is the tendency to confuse development and growth. In an article titled Jamaica as a Development State, which appeared in the Friday, April 14, 2023 edition of The Gleaner, former Pro-Vice Chancellor of Graduate Studies and Research at the University of the West Indies and Professor of Anthropology at City University of New York, Don Robotham, wrote, I quote, "We must distinguish between growth and development. Growth is simply an increase in gross domestic product, GDP. Development, however, is the transformation of the production structure." End of quote. To put it another way, growth focuses on the quantity of life. Development focuses on the quality of life. Influenced by the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, IMF, the governing party loves to boast about growth in the economy measured by GDP. But should they not also be placing emphasis on economic development that comes from investing in the country's human and social capital? By itself, GDP says little or nothing about the economic health of a nation. Professor Don Robotham in his Gleaner article shares information about Harvard's Economic Complexity Index, which he says attempts to measure the underlying fundamentals of an economy, not just the production of goods and services. In its latest ranking on the index, Jamaica came in at 83 out of 133 countries. Not good. There are measures, such as the Human Development Index, HDI, which also give a more balanced, if nuanced, assessment of the wealth and health of an economy. Jamaica's budget is skewed towards recurrent expenditure, with very little going to the capital side, such as investments in innovations in education, health, infrastructure, information technology, research, economic diversity, and inclusiveness. Not surprisingly, Jamaica perennially falls below the average HDI ranking for some 186 countries. Without the concomitant economic development, GDP growth inevitably leads to a more unequal society and unsustainable economy. The changing Kingston skyline, expensive cars on the streets, and high-end condos replacing single-dwelling houses are but a mirage of progress. It is not reflected in most people's standard of living. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
The second edition of the MSME Business Roadshow is coming to the Twickenham Park Church of the Open Bible on Thursday, January 16. Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Roadshow in St. Catherine. Expect export opportunities, discover products and services from the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, and more. Don't miss out on the opportunity to be impacted by the MSME Business Roadshow. So come to Twickenham Park Church of the Open Bible on Thursday, January 16. Catch Cliff Hughes online on the ground from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce.
Taboo topics. Voyagings after dark.
Riveting discussions.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Voyagings After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Voyagings After Dark.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. As I said, we're taking your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. And without any further delay, Cleveland, good evening.
Yes,
Good evening, Mass Cleveland.
Mr. Reed.
How are you doing, man?
Not bad, not bad, not bad.
If that's...
Well, we're having some interesting time here, eh? Hello?
We hear you, Cleveland. Go ahead.
Yes, yes.
What's forefront on your mind?
Yeah. But as I said, I know Lawrence quite well because he grew up where I live up this side and in the church, his mother, his sister, and so on. That's all of the other siblings. And I'm really, trying to encourage him to stand his ground and don't let nobody bully him and push him.
I know you would.
No. Why I would? Why?
Yeah, because you're a good person.
You do what?
You're so like a decent human being.
No, I think that I know it.
The politics of it doesn't have anything to do with it, man.
You see? No, but what they're trying to do to this young man is not good, and it's much better than what for them when in a party there right now. Young man can explain himself quite well, right? And he know what he's about. You see? But look at them are replacing with that Tapanari side thing, so that's it. I'd like to tell Mr. Holness that he's to govern. Right? That's what the people them elect him to do. And don't make anyone come and try to dictate to him what he must do, when he must move away from the monarchy, and put in what. Right? I don't think the leader of the opposition have that right to try to pin down Mr. Holness to what him want. Because that's how I hear him putting it, You see? And I don't think him is the right person anyhow. To try to pin down Mr. Holness to what Mr. Golin wants. He's not the right person. You see? And I find that if he finds him can't have him way and want to walk away. You see? Well, he can walk away. But I think the government...
With marbles and go home. But Mass
set
Cleveland, they can't...
Huh?
Mass Cleveland, if he takes up his marbles and goes home, the process is in trouble.
Why?
Because we need 2/3 majority. Siobhan, you're the parliamentary expert here. To amend certain deeply entrenched provisions of the Constitution. So they need the support of the opposition. You can't just be there to make him go along because the process is going to be stalled.
Now, if they're taking up the CCJ.
Right. So he's saying if they don't do that, if they don't address the CCJ issue or the final appellate court issue, that they may very well not continue with the process. Sit in the meetings is what he said, right, Siobhan?
Essentially, they'll just essentially take themselves away from the current process.
They're not moving everything, and I don't see why they have to. The opposition trying to pin down Mr. Holness in that one area, because if you leave the monarchy and you don't join the CCJ, it's like it's something wrong. It's a place that got pulled down.
I don't think the opposition have any intention to support this process, and I think this is just another way to essentially give them an excuse not to go forward with it.
Yes, but I don't think Mr. Holness must fall for that. We elect him to run the country, right?
Unfortunately, that's just not how our constitution is structured. Our constitution is structured on the belief that the opposition and the government both have the best interests of the country at heart. And sometimes that does not always align in reality.
Some of it become political. Well, the system has been so political, sir, that I don't see them going to agree. Just like
someone who is well thinking in the opposition or who supports the opposition perhaps needs to tell the opposition leader that ultimatums are usually
not good.
Antithetical towards any process of consensus. Yes, it generally doesn't work very well.
Yes, not good at all, sir. And as I said, Mr. Golden is not the right person. As far as me is, Mr. Golden is not the right person to be dictating to the Prime Minister about this thing. Not the right person. It's unfortunate because up to now I can't come to it how this PMP end up with Mr. Golden as the leader. And look how much other people in there are in there long before him.
No, they chose Mr. Golding.
PMP gone.
He won. Who did he go up against Siobhan? Was it Lisa Hanna?
That was it. Yes, Lisa Hanna.
Yes.
Yeah, and he defeated Miss Hanna.
Well,
so he won it fair and square. So and that's a certain that it should be that argument is valid.
Him not 15 an hour thing at all. So when I have to sit then I have to stick us up to get what he wants. Right?
But as I said, Cleveland, I just suspect this is another way of frustrating the matter till we get to general elections. But I don't see, if this lapses, I don't see this being revisited again to any success within the next decade.
And that would be a shame, a disgrace, a travesty and a mockery. That's what that would be of the Jamaican people if we don't remove the king as head of state.
But the government is willing to remove the king.
Yes, but
no, that is clear.
Is that because Mr. Mann wants them now to take up the CCJ?
Because even if it went to referendum, if the opposition is campaigning against the move or suggesting that they do not have an interest in supporting such a move, it would complicate any attempts to get that through a referendum.
Like how they do the crime business that we have in here. They don't support it.
No, but ultimately a referendum, I think, is the solution for this matter. The opposition clearly wants the CCJ. That is clear. They've said CCJ are bust. The Holiness Administration has said that, you know, it is open to the suggestions that are being put forward, one of which is a local court, if my memory serves me correct, Siobhan, help me here, I'm an old man. They did offer that in response, I think, sometime last year. All right, Mas Cleveland.
Somebody else gets it.
All right, Mas Cleveland, have a good one. Sometime last year they offered that, Siobhan?
Well, during the CCJ debate, when it was at its highest point, I believe it was 2014, 2013, thereabouts, they had the Holiness Administration has put together the suggestion that why don't we adopt a local court? But the PNP, which was in government, I think more recently it was suggested by, I believe it was PJ Patterson, who said that it was unworkable based on some commission that they had. Based on a report that they had commissioned, they said it was unworkable, that the courts in Jamaica just simply would not be up to the standard needed in terms of resources and infrastructure to function as a final appellate court. And to this date, I was saying, well, show us that report. I want to see how relevant that report would be now, almost 10, 20 years after it has been previously commissioned.
Look, it can't be that the CCJ is the only option that ought to be considered, and that is
the only option that the People's National Party is willing to consider, which I find flabbergasting.
Which is what I'm saying. That is what I don't understand. How do you come to an attempt at achieving consensus with a loaded gun of an ultimatum? I do not understand the opposition's posture on this. I really don't understand it. And it is running counter to what I think is beneficial to the Jamaican people. And you know, Mark Golding and his team need to really reassess their position on this matter.
And it should be noted, listeners, that even if you put the matter of put it to the people, to the People's National Party, they don't want it to be put to the people. They don't want a referendum on the CCJ.
What does that say to you? Anytime you have political parties refusing in a democracy to consult the people to hear what they think, that should make you very nervous.
And I'm saying this is based on what Mr. Golding has said publicly, that they feel a referendum is unnecessary, that the legislation can be passed as a simple matter of parliament. And when you believe that a democratic vote is unnecessary, that tells you how much you have faith in the democratic process.
Which is where I was going, because a referendum is a quintessential tool of democracy. If any time you find that politicians are opposed to getting the views of the people, that should make the people very nervous. that makes absolutely no sense to me in a democracy.
I understand, Lloyd. You're on the line. Good evening.
Good evening, Lloyd.
Good evening, Lloyd. Sorry for keeping you waiting.
Yeah, man. Sorry about that.
I can't understand Mr. Golding. He was forced to admit that he had British citizenship. He was forced. But now he's speaking so eloquently that he wants to get rid of the Privy Council and put an end to colonialism and all that. And then Mr. Golding said to his party members that they must get wicked on the JLP supporters. Then he turns around and saying that he's advocating peace. He went to a ceremony where he said that our ancestors came here as enslaved people. including his ancestors. And Mr. Golding just goes around contradicting himself over and over again. Jamaican people who no better take sleep on market. That is my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Lloyd. I think I said it, and I think Lloyd just said it as well. Mr. Golding, based on recent events, has rendered himself the imperfect vessel to which he's trying to deliver that message of removing us from the British monarchy. It's unfortunate, but that is of its own design, and I don't know what else to say on that matter.
And he started to offer these arguments while he was a dual citizen of no lesser country than Britain. And look, you can't make this thing up, you can't make this up. He was making this argument about not being willing to leave Privy Council without the CCJ being acceded to in its final appellate court jurisdiction, Jamaica doing that. And he was a British citizen at the time.
And I wonder if the irony is not lost on him.
I do not.
And the amount of hand-wringing that it required for him to give up that dual citizenship.
Look, man,
I wonder if the irony is not lost on him.
With him flashing his Jamaican passport when he was being questioned about it. And Siobhan, let me tell you, in any country worth its salt, he could not continue as opposition leader. You hear I'm telling you? It's because we don't have standards in this country, our very low standards. Yeah, Jamaica many times needs to come up to the gutter. That's how far we've set the standards. That's how low we've set them. That it would do us well to come up to the gutter sometimes. For him to be asked repeatedly about his citizenship, and he's putting out videos flashing Jamaican passport, yeah, and not admitting, many people would say that is lying by omission because you were pointedly asked. And then now to be continuing this grandstanding. You asked me something earlier that I want to come back to Siobhan about if it's the first time I'm seeing the opposition leader on a committee. Didn't the opposition have some members who were supposed to be part of the Constitutional Reform
Those members
Committee?
were there, but and this is
They
my
were there as
interpretation that
Did
I felt.
they
I felt Mr. Golding felt that those two individuals could not satisfactorily deliver his message, so he felt he had to be there in person.
So did they deliver any message at all?
They spoke briefly, but not to the extent as Mr. Golding had spoken.
So, well, right, okay. That paints a picture then. That paints a picture.
Papa Nana, good evening.
Good evening, both you gentlemen.
Top of the evening to you, Mr. Papa Nana. We don't need to sing the song on the evening program.
All right, I understand. I want
you're large.
Yes. I want to ask you two quick questions. What is going on in the country now that is where crime is concerned? What part does UTEC really play in this? Because all I see that is happening at UTEC is only the striking for more pay. What purpose is UTEC? Tell me. To be honest to you, tell me what are they pushing out in technology to help the country? Tell me.
They're an institution of higher learning, and they put out people all the time who go on to benefit the country. I mean, contribute significantly. Why would you ask that?
No, because what is going on now with crime and things, they are supposed to have some technology where they can help to detect crime more easier. Not you.
Well, I'm not familiar with all of their offerings, so I can't say they aren't doing that now.
All right. If you don't know, you just don't know. Let me get on to the other point quickly. I hear Mr. Golden is trying to bully his way through. But let's face it, the way how he's behaving now, suppose he was, God forbid it, he was to become the government. would the opposition do that? Don't play the same part that he's playing now? What would guarantee him that the opposition wouldn't play the same part that he is playing now?
As I said, I don't see. As I said, if in this moment in time we do not get this done, it will not be done.
Yes.
And I should point out, that Mr. Golding himself, again, I can say, his very own words when he was asked this question, if not now, when, he said he's very much willing to wait. So if he doesn't get his way on the CCJ, he's very much willing to wait. So that would be enough to be sufficient to explain his posture. That he doesn't care if the CCJ is not on the table, it's not happening. That is how he sees it.
Yeah, but what I am saying that is puzzling to me, what guarantee him that the opposition wouldn't do him the same like what he's doing now? That's what I'm saying. And I personally saying to Mr. Holness, no make no foreigner come dictate to you, so as long as you're doing the will of the people, don't make no foreigner come dictate to you. And I'm warning Mr. Golden, don't take brute force and jump in a tiger back because it will end up in a tiger belly. You know, have a good night, sir.
Have a good night, Papa.
What? Where does Papa get these things from? But the JLP administration should proceed, Siobhan, go through the stages and take it to the vote. Let them not support it in Parliament. That's what they should do.
I hear what you're saying, Tyrone, but as I said, that just dooms the process. And I remember, this is coming from somebody who supports the Caribbean Court of Justice. I support the Caribbean Court of Justice becoming Jamaica's appellate court, but I also have principles. And one of those principles is there is such a thing as a democratic process. And you should genuinely say, very well, for something as important as this, put it to the people. If the people so do, we go on with it. If they do not, we move away from it.
Because I'm not opposed to the CCJ, neither am I for it. And I think going through the process of a referendum and the information will be provided to the people so people are able to make up their minds as to which way is the best way forward. But Mark Golding's posture and the PNP's posture isn't allowing for that. And that should make any well-thinking Jamaican very nervous.
Well, he is in a position based on his 8 members in the Senate to so do, and he is so doing.
Let them vote against it.
And unfortunately, that is part of our constitution, and I can do nothing but to be exasperated and sigh.
Let them vote against it. That's what the governments are elected to govern. So whether it was the PNP or JP in office, I would say, go through the stages and let them vote against it, and let them pay the political price for that.
We shall see what happens in the future. Well, listeners, we have to leave it there. Thank you for joining us. John Clark, St. John 316, Corinne, Marlene P., Patrick Rowe, Full Disclose, Maxine Dunkley, Sharna Blake, Bragg Robinson, Tedris, Ira Joseph, Juliet Davis. All of you, thank you so much for joining us this evening. To our super producer, Dana Davey, the awesome technical operator, Boogs, the girl them Toogs Anderson, and all my friends and compatriots in the news and production department, led by the very capable Cara Powell. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
I'm Tyrone Reed. Good evening.
The mission of the ministry